Liverpool are expected to try and gatecrash Newcastle's bid to sign Hugo Ekitike from Frankfurt if Alexander Isak isn't for sale. The Reds have made it clear.
Have knock-on effects now when it comes to Newcastle's own pursuit of Hugo Ekitike, a player who is on Chelsea's radar if Nicholas Jackson was to be sold, and more importantly, I think a player who's on Liverpool's radar as well as they look to bolster their forward options. So as much as Alexander Isak's staying, and we do expect him to stay at this stage, could be good news for Newcastle fans. The fact Liverpool are now expected to make a move for Ekitike, perhaps not quite such good news.
This as Liverpool have rejected a €67.5 million bid for Luis Diaz from Bayern Munich. Elsewhere, El Hadji Malik Diouf has become West Ham's first signing of the summer. A €22 million deal plus add-ons for the Slavia Prague defender is now done. Elsewhere, Brentford have confirmed the signing of Jordan Henderson on a 2-year deal, and goalkeeper Mark Travers has been training with Everton today after signing from Bournemouth on a 4-year deal. Alexander Usyk says he's going for the knockout against Daniel Dubois on Saturday.
With my coach, with my team, we prepared 12 rounds, but if I have chance, I do it.
Do you believe you will stop him?
Yes, of course.
The heavyweight undisputed title fight is live on talkSPORT. How much will the Lions benefit from a full 7 days off ahead of the first test against Australia?
We're loving the having a week's prep and having a fresh squad ready to go. So it's been nice to get back to a proper build-up. What we've had to do is a lot of walkthroughs, low intensity stuff, and a lot of meetings and reviews. And this is a chance to train what you want to get better at, as well as the plans and what we've been doing. So we expect to be better again Saturday.
There's no midweek game ahead of the series opener in Brisbane on Saturday. You can get more at talksport.com.
Good evening, this is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. I'm Olly Clink, how are you doing? We have got a very special show coming up for you this evening. Tonight is your chance to call our transfer guru, our man in the know, talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. If you've got a burning question about your club's business, then Crook is the man to speak to. Are you a Newcastle fan, nervous about Isak leaving? Are you a Manchester United fan, wondering where Mbeumo is? Are you a Forest fan, hoping to cling on to Morgan Gibbs-White? This is your chance to bring your problems to the talkSPORT surgery. Speak to Dr. Crookie. He's here for therapy. It's Crookie's clinic. No matter what league your club is in, no matter if they're after a goalie or a striker, Crook will have you covered. 03717 223344. Get yourself in the waiting room. You know what the waiting times are like these days. We'll take your texts, we'll take your WhatsApp voice notes to 81089 on the text, and you can send a WhatsApp via the phone number 03717 223344. This is Transfer Insiders. Call Crookie's clinic on talkSPORT. Here he is, the doctor himself. How are you doing, Crookie? You all right?
I'm good. I'm really good. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Are you a casualty man or a Holby City man?
Do you know what? I've got not a phobia, but I don't like blood. So honestly, I struggle to watch all those medical programmes. So I'm probably in the wrong job tonight.
No, you're definitely in the right kind of job. And we've had a brilliant day of news as well. We're going to get onto that in just a moment. How have you been? I know you've just been away on holiday as well, haven't you? You've still got a bit of a tan.
Yeah, and going away again next weekend to top it up. So you're going to be, stepping up from junior doctor into the doctor's chair. No, I'm good. As you say, I think this window's been sensational so far. Seems to be a different story, a blockbuster story every day. And this Alexander Isak interest from Liverpool, it's not new to us because we reported it on talkSPORT back in March. But the fact that Liverpool have now asked the question of Newcastle, is there any chance that we can sign your star man, really has taken it to a new level.
Yeah, well, as you know, I'm a big Newcastle United fan. I've got a couple of questions for you on this. Where are we with the latest? So at the moment, Newcastle had put in a bid for Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. He's a player they've been after for a long time. You can go back right to when the takeover happened, that January window when they were trying to get players in the door. Ekitike was a name they looked at. They went after him again in the summer. But Newcastle are a different beast now. And they were going for Ekitike. They were putting these bids in. Then, today, we saw the news that Liverpool had been coming in for Alexander Isak. Not very formally, though.
No.
Not in a formal approach, not with a bid, but they're just letting Newcastle know that they are interested in his services. So what is the latest on all of this at the moment?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to understand the dynamic of those two football clubs. In charge of Liverpool's recruitment now, Michael Edwards back at the club for a second spell, and Richard Hughes. Now, Michael Edwards, way back in the day, was a senior analyst at Portsmouth, back under Harry Redknapp when they won the FA Cup and had all the success under him down the South Coast. Got to know Richard Hughes and Eddie Howe very well. They were Pompey players at the time. And obviously they've gone in different directions, but Richard Hughes was Eddie Howe's sporting director when he was at Bournemouth. So there's a big respect between the trio. So it doesn't surprise me that these conversations have taken place. I don't see it as an attempt by Edwards and Hughes to unsettle Alexander Isak, because I think they would show Eddie Howe and Newcastle more respect than that. I think they've simply asked the question because they know that Newcastle are trying to press on with Ekitike. Does that mean that Alexander Isak might be available for a British record transfer? And if not, then maybe they might go for Ekitike as well. So there's so many different strands to this story. What I can tell you is I think Newcastle fear the worst now when it comes to Ekitike, not just interest in Liverpool, but I wrote about this on the notebook today that was sent round and published on the talkSPORT website. Chelsea waiting in the wings there as well if Nicholas Jackson was to be sold. Now, that could be significant because Ekitike's agent is Ali Barrett, and he has done a lot of deals with Chelsea, not least Moises Caicedo and that then British record transfer. And he also happens to be the agent of one Nicholas Jackson.
And it's Chelsea swooping in again. I mean, they've already got in for João Pedro. It seems all these Newcastle targets, they'd love to come in and kind of hijack some of those deals. So I'm going to ask you, out of 10 then, for Newcastle fans listening, firstly, let's start with Isak. Out of 10, how worried should they be that he moves this summer?
I'd go 5 at this stage.
5?
5 out of 10.
That's made me a lot more nervous there, Crookie. So almost like a 50% chance.
Well, the issue they've got is that obviously he's got 2.5 years, I think, left in his contract now. It ends in 2028.
That's right.
They want to tie him down to a new deal. There were discussions before he wasn't happy with the package that was on offer. Obviously, they're trying again. It would smash their pay structure. And now he knows he's got a club like Liverpool waiting in the wings. If he was to start to agitate for this move, then that might be a whole new ball game.
Okay, and then out of 10, how likely do you think it is that Newcastle managed to get Hugo Ekitike?
4.
4 out of 10. So there's still a bit of hope there. There's still a bit of hope.
Well, they're trying to get it done. You know, they've sent a delegation out to Germany. They're trying to get personal terms agreed with the player before they can come up with a formal deal with Frankfurt. But it's not going to be cheap. 90 million euros. I know Simon Jordan, when I was on with Jim and Simon earlier, raised eyebrows at that. When you look at his record, hasn't scored stacks of goals at top European level. Didn't really work out for him at PSG, but obviously Newcastle, Liverpool and Chelsea all see something in the player.
Okay, 0371722 3344. Get your calls in now. Get into the waiting room. We're going to be taking calls after 7:30. It's time now, though, to get an odds update with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Supercharge your odds with our odds boost button. Selected markets applies to first £50 of stake. Terms apply. 18+. Gambleaware.org.
Let's welcome in Alex Apati from Ladbrokes. Very good evening to you, Alex. Let's start with the Lionesses, who have a quarter-final on Thursday against Sweden. It's going to be live on the talkSPORT network. What odds can we get for that game?
Yeah, good evening, mate. Yeah, Norway, Italy. Norway around 2-1, Italy around 6-4. So it's pretty close in the bet. In the draw after 90 minutes, that is 11-5. So Norway did top their group. They won all of their games, but they did make hard work of it in all three. In what was on paper a pretty easy group to get out of. They conceded 5 goals. They yet to record a clean sheet. That'll be a concern. No other team through to the knockouts conceded more goals than Norway. Italy got the job done early in progressing from Group B alongside Spain and probably just about deserve to be favourites, but it is a close one to call. Both teams to score here, I will absolutely be back in at 10-11, just a shade of odds on. I think this one will be level after 90 minutes, though, putting my neck out there, all sitting on the fence. So I'll be looking at extra time and penalty markets there. Both teams are 10-1 to win in extra time and both 15-2 to win on penalties. The winner will play either England or Sweden, so I would suspect that is where their tournament ends.
Okay, and then what about the tournament favourites, Spain, who are taking on Switzerland?
Massive favourites here. Spain 1-10, Switzerland 18-1, and the draw is 10-1. I mean, straight away it looks like it'll be a rout. Spain could, in theory, score many as Spain want to score. They are the best team in the tournament. You feel their toughest tasks will still be to come. So yeah, the handicap markets will definitely be of interest here. For context, Spain are more likely to win this 6-0 than Switzerland are to win by any scoreline. Spain managed 14 goals across their first 3 games. Esther Gonzalez tops the charts. She's odds on to add to her 4 goals and 3-1 to score first. Switzerland do have the home support, of course, but that can only take them so far. Maybe they can hold on and keep the game level at half-time, but I think it's a stretch. You don't get many high-scoring quarterfinals in this competition. Sweden did beat Iceland 4-0 back in 2013. To my knowledge, that's the biggest, but I think a new record will be set later this week. So Spain to win both halves at 4-5 is a great price for me, or a correct score. Spain 5-0 is a 10-1 shot with Ladbrokes.
Okay, Alex, thanks very much indeed. That was a look at the latest odds with Ladbrokes, 18+, begambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Supercharge your odds with our Odds Boost button. Selected markets applies to first £50 of stake. Terms apply. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Okay, this is your chance to get yourself into the waiting room for an appointment with Dr. Crookie, our transfer guru. You know what it's like with those waiting times. 03717 223344. Newcastle fans, are you nervous about losing Isak this summer? And how gutted will you be if they miss out on Ekitike? And Liverpool fans, what should your club do? Go all out for Isak or try and hijack Ekitike? You're listening to Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes, 18+, begambleaware.org. Up next, we're going to be chatting to the former Everton and QPR goalkeeper, Asmir Begovic. Sing it out for us?
I'm not going to sing it out, no. Listen, we don't need to make anybody ill, do we, in Dr. Crook's clinic by hearing my singing.
A bit of earache, I think. For that.
Absolutely.
This is Transfer Insiders here on talkSPORT, but it's Crook's clinic tonight. If you do have a question for Dr. Crook, our transfer guru, then give us a call, 0371722 3344. If you call now, you will get through. At least to the waiting room, of course. And yeah, it doesn't have to be about Newcastle or Liverpool, whoever your club is. Give us a call on that if you do have a question for Crook. He is always in the know and will be able to answer it. First, though, there's been some news today that Martí Cifuentes is going to become the new Leicester manager. I'm delighted to say that joining us now to look at that and plenty more is the former Everton and QPR goalkeeper, Asmir Begovic. Asmir, very good evening to you.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Great to have you with us. Just firstly, on that news, he's obviously a man that you've played under at Queen's Park Rangers. Do you feel that it's a decent appointment, this, for Leicester?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good appointment. I think the record he's had with QPR, and especially when you think the circumstances it came in his first, when he initially came into QPR in his first season, and then I think even the second season with some challenging times, I think he overcame them and proven his record in the Championship. So I think he's a really good appointment for Leicester. I think with the resources like players, the squad being stronger, I think he can do some great things.
I think they were looking for someone to come in and develop young players, because I think the remit is that players will have to be sold in order for him to strengthen the squad. Obviously, there's a threat of a potential points deduction hanging over them as well. They want someone who's going to play an attractive brand of football. Did he tick those two boxes for you in terms of bringing in young players and also playing a style the crowd can really get behind?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's someone who definitely takes a lot of care and has a lot of enjoyment in developing young players and developing players in general. I mean, I was with him in my mid-30s, and he was still trying to improve myself and other senior players. So not only that, I think the young players, the talent that's in that Leicester City squad, I think he can really develop them and take them on to the next level. And then, as you rightly say, I think in terms of a team that gets relegated, is looking to bounce straight back into the Championship, I think comes with the territory to have to change a lot of things. There's going to be players leaving, players having to be sold, having to balance the books. That's the reality of the situation. So I have no doubt that there's a big job in hand.
What do you think about his departure in terms of QPR? Are you slightly worried for them going forward?
Yeah, I think it's a loss. I really do think it's a big loss. I wouldn't know what happened there, obviously, firsthand. Only the people inside those four walls will know what happened. I think it seemed a shame. It seemed a really good fit. I know the fans loved him. He seemed really settled, but obviously things didn't work out. But he's moved on to a massive job now, obviously proven his worth with QPR, and he's got a big challenge ahead with Leicester.
While we've got you as well, Asmir, we're obviously talking a lot of transfer news tonight, and there's one man that you've played with who's been, at the focus of a few rumours. Aaron Ramsdale, who you were with at Bournemouth. After the season he had with Southampton, and after his career history where he's been at Arsenal as well, where do you think the right club would be for him to go next?
Oh, that's a great question. I think what Aaron has done over the last few years is established himself as a Premier League goalkeeper. I think there's no doubt. I think with his consistency of performances, the levels that he shows, got him into the England squad. I think he's, really played at a high level. Of course, maybe the results with the teams have been a little bit unfortunate with the relegations, which is obviously partly not down to his name. But I think, he's going to choose wisely. You don't just want to leave for the sake of leaving. I think he has to choose wisely. Hopefully a team that's going to be a little bit more in a stable position in the Premier League, I think is something he will look for. But there's only so many slots available. So it's really a difficult decision, because I know he wants to be playing at the highest level. There's a World Cup at the end of the season for England as well. So he wants to be in contention for that. And the only way to do that will be to play in the Premier League. So he's got to find the right situation. It's never easy, and I'm sure he'll do the right thing for him and his family.
Let's focus on another of your old clubs, if we can. Chelsea. Jason Cundy, who was on just before us, is still bouncing around the office, talking about being on top of the World Club Cup winners at the weekend. How impressed were you by their end to the season, and do you think they can seriously challenge for the Premier League title now?
Well, I've been seriously impressed with I think the second half of the season with winning the Conference League, qualifying for the Champions League, now winning this World Club. I think they've really developed as a squad. I think that's always natural when a new manager comes in the summer. It does take a bit of time to gel everybody together, really believe in the way you're playing and doing things. And I think Enzo Maresca has absolute full buy-in from that whole squad and those sets of players, and that's shown in their performances. I think to perform at the level they did, to dismantle PSG in the manner they did, it was incredibly impressive, and I think that will give them great confidence going into the next season. And with the additions they've made, the window's still open. Let's see how that works out, and maybe other players joining that squad to make it even stronger. So with the way the top end of the Premier League shaping up, I think Chelsea will be in the mix for sure.
Well, there has been a bit of talk, though, Asmir, that they might need to replace their goalkeeper if they are going to try and challenge. Is that how you see it with Robert Sanchez?
Those decisions are made by the decision makers. I think Robert Sanchez has, again, gotten better and better as the season has gone on, and has got more comfortable with everything that's expected of him. I think he's made some key saves, really had some really big performances when needed for the whole squad, for Chelsea Football Club. So, that's for them to decide whether that's enough for him to be the number one. But in my opinion, I think he's had a really strong end to the season, and it's been great to watch.
I don't want to remind you of the fact you're 38 now, Asmir. You turned 38 last month, but I mean, you're still looking tremendous.
Looks younger than us, doesn't he?
You look younger than both of us. But what does the future hold for you now? I know you've got your academy, but do you still have a desire to continue playing in England? Have you got some offers on the table at the moment?
Yeah, well, it's that time of year, right, when you have a lot of conversations and talking with different people in different clubs, and I've got to find the right challenge for me. As you said, you get to a stage where, of course, you've got to find that motivation to keep going and keep putting your body through the rigors of a season, and work with the right people. So yeah, I think if the right challenge is there for me, it's definitely I'd love to continue playing and being part of a team, and I still have that fire, but it has to be the right thing for me and my family. That's for sure.
Asmir, thank you very much indeed for your time this evening, and I hope it all goes well in your search for your next club.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Cheers, Asmir. Asmir Vekovic, their former Everton and QPR goalkeeper. Interesting about Robert Sanchez there, isn't it? Just on that, in terms of Chelsea, what is that situation looking like? Because they were flirting with the idea of getting Mike Mannion, I think, but that search for a goalkeeper seems to have died down a bit.
Yeah, I think they just saw an opportunity there when it came to Mignon, just to get him in for the Club World Cup, maybe at a slightly reduced fee. The message when Milan wouldn't play ball was that they weren't going to return once the Club World Cup had finished. Actually, the briefing earlier in the summer from Chelsea was they were quite happy with the goalkeepers on their roster, and that Robert Sanchez would be the number one. The advantage he's got there is that the head of goalkeeping at the club now, Ben Roberts, was responsible for bringing him in from Brighton. They've got a very close relationship, and actually made a couple of big saves in the final, albeit at 3-0 up. I still think they need a new goalkeeper, to be honest, to really kick on, but at the moment it doesn't look like the board agree.
Right, back to Isak and Ekitike and everything going on between Newcastle and Liverpool. We've had a couple of texts through. Harry is a Newcastle fan. He's text 81089. He's saying that the Newcastle chairman, Yasser Al-Rumayyan, has said that Isak is his favourite player. Said in March Newcastle must never sell Isak. So with Liverpool trying to test the water here, is there a world for you, Cricket, that you can see the PIF as Newcastle's owners going back on their word and maybe trying to take the money in this situation? I hope they don't, as a fan.
Yeah, I don't think it would be necessarily a money grab. I think they would want to get a gauge from the player. Is he going to sign a new contract? And those conversations need to be had, because obviously the longer he goes without signing a contract, his value will only decrease. But I think it's a good point. The owner has been quite public about the admiration he's got for Alexander Isak. I believe they're going to offer him Callum Wilson's number 9 shirt, that iconic number 9 jersey as well, to try and convince him that Newcastle is the place for him. And I think it's a lot more difficult now, even for a club like Liverpool, to get him out of St James's Park, because Newcastle can offer Champions League football. That's so important for the modern player.
Is the equation not actually quite simple here for Newcastle? And do they hold the cards here? Because what they could do is stump up the money for Ekitike, whilst maybe coaxing Liverpool along a bit and maybe saying, all right, well, we'll think about the fact that you might like Isak, seal the deal for Ekitike so Liverpool can't swoop in, and then say, actually, no, you can't have Isak. Sorry, Liverpool. and then they end up with both of these players. Is that a situation you can see happening? Have I simplified it too much?
You should be a sporting director, I think, with thinking like that. Yeah, I think you probably have simplified it a little bit too much because players talk and agents talk. I mean, that's the other interesting dynamic. When we were reporting on Ekitike, 3 days ago now, the messages we were getting out of Newcastle were, this is not a player to replace Alexander Isak. We want them to play together, and it'll be interesting to see how that would work.
What do you think you would do if you were Isak in this situation?
Well, do you know what I'd like to ask? Is there any Newcastle fan out there, if say the offer got to £150 million, I think that's the magic number as far as Newcastle are concerned. I don't see them doing business for any less than that. If you got £150 million on the table, you could buy 2, maybe 3 top-class players with that money.
No, you can't sell him.
Would you cash in on Alexander Isak?
You can't sell Isak,
for the greater good.
You can't sell Isak, though, because you say the greater good there. The greater good will be keeping one of the world's best number 9s, heading into next season, and still having him banging in the goals. That's so difficult to replace. But you saying that you think getting 2 or 3 players with that money?
No, I'm not saying. Listen, I think Isak is terrific. I tipped him to be the Golden Boot winner last season. I might tip him to be the Golden Boot winner next season. But I'm sure there are some Newcastle fans out there who might just feel that if they can get 2 or 3 players in, maybe now is the time to cash in.
I don't believe it. There can't be a Newcastle fan out there who thinks they should cash in.
If there are, step into the waiting room. We're ready.
Okay, 03717 22 3355. If you're one of those Newcastle fans who thinks maybe they should cash in on this. Nah, nonsense. You've got to keep Isak, surely. If you've got a question for Crook about the situation as well, give us a call. And if you support another club as well, if you're an Arsenal fan, want to know the latest with Gyökeres, the latest with Madueke, Crookie is your man. So give us a call on that. 03717 22 3344. You'll get straight through. This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT.
Liverpool are expected to try and gatecrash Newcastle's bid to sign Hugo Ekitike from Frankfurt if Alexander Isak isn't for sale. The Reds have made it clear to St James's Park they'd table a mouth-watering offer for the Swede if their stance on his availability changes. Here's talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook.
I wonder if this could have knock-on effects now when it comes to Newcastle's own pursuit of Hugo Ekitike, a player who is on Chelsea's radar if Nicholas Jackson was to be sold, and more importantly, I think a player who's on Liverpool's radar as well as they look to bolster their forward options.
This as Liverpool have rejected a €67.5 million bid for Luis Diaz from Bayern Munich. Alexander Usyk says he's going for the knockout against Daniel Dubois on Saturday.
We prepared 12 rounds, but if I have chance, I do it.
Do you believe you will stop him?
Yes, of course.
The heavyweight undisputed title fight is live on talkSPORT. How much will the Lions benefit from a full 7 days off ahead of the first test against Australia?
We're loving the having a week's prep and having a fresh squad ready to go. So it's been nice to get back to a proper build-up.
There's no midweek game ahead of the series opener in Brisbane on Saturday. You can get more at talksport.com.
You keep going for the tunes, mate.
I love this. For Crookie's Clinic, the doctor tunes, just like a pill.
We have got a doctor theme throughout the evening, haven't we?
We have.
I hope we've got...
Well, I tell you what...
I hope we got the verve later. We've got the verve in there.
Oh, yeah, good shout. Good shout. The waiting room is filling up with a few Newcastle fans that might need some therapy
I can't see them till next week.
No, yeah, well, that sounds quite familiar. We're not going to lie. This is Transfer Insiders with me, Olly Clink, alongside our transfer guru, our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. He's taking your questions tonight about your club's business. We've been talking about Alexander Isak and Liverpool showing some interest in him and how that might affect Newcastle's chase for Hugo Ekitike.
Before we take a call, how's your foot?
Oh, my foot, yeah, it's not great, mate. It's not great.
Do you want me to take a look?
Yeah, go on then. Yeah. If you don't know, I've injured my ankle. I was taking a penalty against Champions League winning goalkeeper Edwin van der Sar, and as I scored, I went over on it. And it's a shame that. Thanks for bringing it up, though.
So you were showing off and you fell over. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. Yeah. Still on the mend.
Prescription would be stay humble.
Yeah, it'll stay off the football pitch, I think, would be better. Now, before we get to those Newcastle fans, those calls that are coming in, you've got a bit of an exclusive for us. Always working.
Absolutely. And this involves the Brighton player Pervis Estupiñán. Good player on his day, actually. Gets up and down, gets his fair share of goals, most of them screamers as well. I'm told exclusively that Manchester United and AC Milan both showing an interest in Estupiñán, and I can see the fit at Manchester United.
Yeah,
because we know that Ruben Amorim is very wedded to his back three, likes his wing backs to be able to get up and down the pitch. Estupiñán can certainly do that. People might ask, well, they've just signed Patrick Dorgu, why do they need another left wing back? I wasn't overly convinced by Dorgu last season. I think Estupiñán, when he's fully fit, probably is a better player. And I get the impression that Brighton, having signed Maxim de Kuyper in that position already this summer, if they get a suitable offer and they pay £20 million for him themselves, I think they'd be tempted to do business.
Interesting stuff, but you're right. It is strange that they're signing someone when they've already signed Dorgu. Surely, we'll get into Manchester United a bit later in a lot of detail. There's plenty to go at with them. But firstly, Craig is a Newcastle fan. He's first with an appointment to Dr. Crook. Craig, how are you feeling about this Isak situation then?
Oh, good evening, guys. Nice to speak to you, Ollie and Alex. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you, mate.
Yeah, good. Just a few bits on it, actually. First thing that springs to mind is I can't remember such a unique situation between two clubs and two players that are so intertwined in what may or may not happen. I don't know if there has been recently, but it certainly struck me as being quite unique in terms of how it's going to play out. Anyway, as a Newcastle fan, I absolutely do not want Isak to leave, although I think that might be ultimately determined by what he says to the club he wants to do. If he signifies he would like to speak to Liverpool, then I think we potentially then go in and get as much money as we possibly can for him. Would probably be the first point, but ultimately I'd want to keep him. Secondly, I mean, it's a bit of an interesting one with the Ekitike guy, because if Liverpool are ultimately showing their hand as Isak as their number one choice, how does he feel about that he's then second choice behind Isak if Liverpool come to the table? But ultimately, I do agree. I think Newcastle are in a fairly strong position, because either way, they're probably going to end up either keeping a hold of Isak as one of the best strikers in Europe, or potentially securing the signature of someone that could be as equally as good as Isak.
Yeah, would you rather keep Isak, though, in this situation, Craig? I think I would.
Absolutely, yeah, especially going into the Champions League. I want to keep a hold of him, but I guess it might be up to him and what his intentions are if he says to the club that he wants to leave.
Yeah, cricket. I think Craig, thanks for your call. 03717 2233 44. I think Craig makes a really good point there about the kind of first choice, second choice situation. But am I right in saying that the club were trying to, pedal the line that actually they want Isak and Ekitike to play together, and Eddie Howe's looking at, maybe different formations, etc. next season? Even then, there surely will be games where one of those two is going to be on the bench, and that's going to be quite tricky to keep both of them happy, especially if you're bringing in Ekitike for what would be a record fee.
Yeah, I guess with Ekitike, you're still paying for potential. Obviously, he's a fair bit younger than Alexander Isak. He hasn't had too much top-level experience, but it's a great point. What we know about strikers, and we work with enough of them at talkSPORT, they're quite a selfish breed, aren't they? Number 9. So they're both going to want to be the main man. That's why I think it's fascinating that Newcastle are willing to give Isak this number 9 jersey. And you wouldn't have thought Ekitike coming in for what would be a Newcastle record fee, as you say, would want to play second fiddle to anybody for any games.
Mick is a Newcastle fan. He's called 03717 223344. Mick, how are you feeling about this situation? You got a question for Crookie?
No, I just totally agree with what you're saying there about formations. I think Eddie Howe will be looking to the future and, maybe mixing things up a little bit. And I've always fancied us having a 3-5-2 formation, and I think that would fit the bill really nicely. He's ever evolving, isn't he, Eddie Howe? So he's always thinking about things to, keep the other teams guessing, I think. So Isak's looking to go for 150 million. I think we're looking at building and, improving the squad depth and what have you. So, 150 million, nowhere near enough, and we're not selling it.
Yeah, so, you wouldn't take the money even if it meant that Newcastle could reinvest that and then try and improve their squad?
No, we don't need it, do we?
No.
We're already investing. You cannot buy what Isak's got, and that's goals and class.
The only thing is, Mick, thank you very much, mate. 03717 223344. The only thing with the kind of squad improvement situation, we all know that Newcastle have been limited as well by PSR. And actually, even if you look at this Ekitike deal, it looks to me as if they may be slightly short in what Frankfurt want in terms of a fee. And again, it comes down to these PSR restrictions, because with the way Newcastle have done it, what they've hung on to their Alexander Isaks or Bruno Guimaraes or Sven Botman or whoever you want, their star players. But in doing so, it's made it difficult because without those sales, they haven't been able to invest as heavily as they want to.
Yeah, and that's why I think Eddie Howe's a genius. When you look what he's achieved there, where they were when he took over, obviously getting them back into the Champions League first time round, ending their 7-decade wait for a trophy and managing to get them back into the Champions League without spending significant money. Now, of course, they signed players, but everybody thought when the Saudis came in, it'd be a bit of a Manchester City scenario, going to sign players like Robinho and break the bank. They haven't really done that. The fact that this would be a record signing tells you that. Eddie himself has come out and said they're not hampered by PSR, but they are hampered by the fact, and I don't want to offend Newcastle fans here, so sorry, Ollie, if it does that, they are hampered by the fact they're still not regarded worldwide as one of the biggest clubs in the Premier League. And I mentioned the players they've missed out on already. Dean Howson, okay, it's very difficult to stop anyone going to Real Madrid. But Brian Mbeumo, for example, had a choice to go to Newcastle and play in the Champions League or join a Manchester United team who've just finished 15th in the Premier League. And he's made it pretty clear he only wants to go to United.
Yeah, but that's surely got to
Manchester United.
It's surely got to do with the wage packet. Surely. Because Newcastle can't offer the same kind of wages, whether that's because of PSR restrictions or whether it's because they want to keep the same kind of wage structure within most of the players in the squad. So, you know, I'm sure that made a bit of a difference, that he gets an extra, 30-40k in his wage bracket that Newcastle were offering.
Yeah, Liam Delap was the other one I was going to mention as well, because, of course, they were keen on him, but he chose Chelsea, I think, because he wanted to... he wanted to go and play under Enzo Maresca again. Obviously, he's got the link up with Cole Palmer as well, and now he finds himself on the bench. João Pedro. They're very keen on João Pedro.
Again, with Delap, with Delap, he knows he's going to be second fiddle to Isak. Maybe he wanted to be the main man, which is why it's then ironic that they bring in João Pedro as well, who looks like he'll be the one leading the line.
But João Pedro only ever really had eyes for Chelsea over Newcastle. So you're right. Yes, they don't pay as big a wages as those clubs that I've mentioned about, but also, historically, they're not regarded as one of the big guns in the Premier League. I'm going to get pelters for that, I'm sure. And I love Newcastle, by the way. I've got a lot of time for Eddie Howe. I've tracked his progress, but I just think it's proving difficult to attract players at the moment.
Well, it's been great having you on, Crookie. Cheers. We do have a text there, to be fair, from Russ, the Newcastle fan, who wants a bit of therapy from Dr. Crookie. Hi, Ollie and Alex. If it hadn't been announced that Newcastle were trying to buy Ekitike, would Liverpool or Chelsea have even thought about it? It feels like Chelsea, in particular, kind of go off our scouting network and try and hand out these deals.
Well, they've certainly gone off Brighton's scouting network as well in recent windows. But yeah, I think that's an unfair criticism when it comes to Liverpool. You know, you've got people there, Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. They are proper operators, and we're seeing that across the course of the summer already. But listen, Ekitike is not a secret, and I think if you look at the striker search this summer, the dearth of number 9s, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Newcastle, they're all basically shopping off the same list, aren't they? You know, the Liam Delaps, Victor Osimhen, who looks like he's probably going to go to Galatasaray now. Victor Gyökeres, a few clubs were in for him. Ekitike, we've mentioned a trio of those big Premier League clubs who would like to sign him. I guess next cab off the rank is Benjamin Šeško, and I do know that Newcastle have a long-standing admiration for him, so if they can't get Ekitike, do they then divert their attentions to the RB Leipzig man?
We've got a text here from Patrick. Simple question to Crookie. Where does Isak play his first game of next season, Liverpool or Newcastle? And Patrick's requested you answer in one word.
Newcastle.
Good man. That was the right answer there, Chris. Didn't seem that convinced, though, which is a bit worrying. 03717 223344. Keep those calls coming in. If you're a Liverpool fan, what are you making of this situation? How do you want your club to act? Go all out to try and get Alexander Isak, or hijack that deal for Ekitike? This is Transfer Insiders. Call Crookie on talkSPORT.
drugs don't work, they just make you worse. But I know I'll see your face again.
The beautiful voice of Alex Crook with his new album, The Drugs Don't Work.
My wife is watching that at home. She will be cringing.
We all are, mate.
Sorry, Emma. Sorry.
Don't worry. There we go. It is Crookie's Clink tonight on Transfer Insiders. He's answering your questions about your club's business. You can get your calls in. You know the number, 03717 223344. You might want to ask him, please don't sing again. Yeah. Might go down quite well.
Singing.
It is, yeah, well, fair enough, okay. Maybe a bit less in the next
Right.
2 hours or so.
Well, that was the best song anyway.
There we go.
You've peaked.
Now, we've been chatting about Isak and Liverpool's interest in him and maybe them coming in to hijack Newcastle's deal for Hugo Ekitike. Just before we get to that, what are the Newcastle camp saying at the moment about this Ekitike deal and how likely it might be? Because yesterday it looked like it was something that was going to get over the line.
Yeah, I think maybe a couple of reporters were getting a little bit excited too early. I think Newcastle always suspected there'd be rival interest. They were trying to get it done quickly to steal a march on those rivals, but I'm not sensing they're overly optimistic. But that might be a fallout of the fact they've lost out on a couple of targets already in this window. And as you mentioned, Ekitike's had a couple of opportunities to pitch up at St James's Park and decided to go elsewhere.
Yeah, and you know, I spoke about the reasons behind, you know, maybe Delap not going there or Mbermo not going there, but I mean Ekitike, if he turns them down 3 times, that will sting, I think, a fair amount.
They might get the hint after that, Newcastle.
Maybe, yeah. Anyway, Martin is a Liverpool fan. He's called Crookie's Clinic. Martin, what do you want to say on this?
Hello there. I'm talking about Harvey Elliott and Joe Gomez constantly being overlooked.
What do you mean by overlooked? By Liverpool? By Arne Slot?
By Liverpool, because Harvey Elliott is a baller, and talking about the centre half positions, we've got Joe Gomez. He can play all across the back 4. He never gets mentioned in anything at all. So
yeah, what's the latest with especially Harvey Elliott there, Crookie?
Well, they were anticipating Liverpool a lot of interest before the Euros, and obviously he tore it up out there, helped England go all the way to glory, was named player of the tournament, scored some big goals. So I think the asking price is well in excess of £40 million. I know West Ham have been in conversation with Liverpool, but I think the price is probably too rich for them. He's been mentioned as a potential Newcastle target, but that one seems to have gone quiet. And then there is interest from clubs abroad as well, the likes of Bayer Leverkusen and RB Leipzig. So I do anticipate he will leave this summer, but it's going to take quite a significant fee. It's just difficult for him, isn't it, to get into that midfield, which was so crucial to Liverpool winning the Premier League last season. Joe Gomez is an interesting one because when Anthony Gordon was going to go to Liverpool this time a year ago, there was every chance that Joe Gomez went in the opposite direction. I think now Arne Slot sees him as a versatile player, someone who can cover a number of positions. Whether he's happy with that, I don't know. But at the moment, there's no real noises coming out that Joe Gomez will leave.
Martin, do you want to see Liverpool go all out and try and sign Alexander Isak?
He's injury prone. He's very injury prone, isn't he, for that kind of money? I think, as you've seen, is it Ekitike?
Ekitike, yeah.
Yeah, that's one, yeah. I think that Liverpool are holding the cards here. Newcastle had a bid rejected, didn't he, from Frankfurt?
Yeah, that's right.
Euros. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think 120 million for Isaac is a bit too rich, in my opinion.
OK, Martin, thanks very much for your call. Keep them coming in. It's actually a good point there from Martin about Alexander Isak, because if you look at Newcastle's season when they were in the Champions League, you know, there were a fair few games that he wasn't fit. Even in his first season when he came to the club, there was a lengthy injury layoff. He seemed okay for most of last season.
Yeah, didn't miss many games last year.
But it's a good point that it would be a huge fee, wouldn't it, for Alexander Isak, when you know that there are a couple of injury problems within there.
Yeah, but I don't think these are long-term issues. They're sort of little niggly ones that have ruled him out for games. So I don't think that would be a massive deterrent. Just on Newcastle, by the way, our colleague David Ornstein at The Athletic is reporting that a fee has now been agreed between Leeds and Newcastle for Sean Longstaff. So that deal, I think, in the region of £12 million will happen now.
I thought you were going to say Ekatike then. That's a shame, isn't it? What a shame that is. Yeah, no, to be fair, do you know what I like about that Sean Longstaff deal? Firstly, what a journey he's had with the club and scored some important goals and had some important moments. Scored in the 4-1 win over PSG. He was in that squad, of course, that won the League Cup and came fourth. He scored a penalty against Nottingham Forest to win a shootout in that League Cup run. So had some big moments. But what I really like about it is the fact that Sean Longstaff, I believe, said, no, I want the club to get a fee. I could run my contract down, go on a free next summer, but I want the club to get a fee for it because I'm a homegrown player. So that's good to see. And I would say for Leeds, it's a decent signing.
Yeah, I think actually Leeds and Sunderland, I think, are both going to have a really good fist of it next season. We're going to be talking a bit about that later when it comes to Sunderland in particular. But I think we need those teams coming up from the Championship to be a lot more competitive than we've seen in the past couple of years. And so I agree with you. I think that's a good pick-up for Leeds. Bit of Premier League experience as well, bit of steel added to their midfield.
Yeah, where are Sunderland going to finish? Top of the bottom three, is it? Or
I think Sunderland will stay up.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that a bit later, I'm sure. Tom is a Liverpool fan. He's through to Crook's clinic. Tom, what do you want to say on this? What are you making of the Isak situation?
Yeah, I'm thinking, ask Crookie to see what he thinks about maybe getting Harvey Elliott in on the deal with Isak.
Crookie, what do you make of that? So, Harvey Elliott in the deal for Liverpool to try and get Isak. So a cash plus player.
Yeah, they're difficult to do, these swap deals. They don't happen very often because you've got to get everybody aligning. You've got to get buy-in from both players. You've got to work out the finances of it. I think for PSR, it looks a bit messy on the balance sheet. I can understand the principle, and I think Harvey Elliott would be a decent addition for Newcastle, but I don't necessarily see where he fits in. You know, again, that midfield was so important for them and so settled, wasn't it, last season?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I also think, Tom, it would still be a significant amount of cash alongside Harvey Elliott, even though he's fairly talented. What do you want Liverpool to try and do, though, here, Tom? Because there is talk that they might try and hijack that deal for Ekatike if Newcastle, as we would expect, turn to them and go, no, Isak's still not for sale.
No, I think they go in hard on the Isak deal, and we got Nunez as well. We got quite a few players we could offer. Really, if they wanted to do deals, if they needed players, they'd probably like some.
I know that Nunez swap deal was sort of discussed in media circles earlier in the summer, and both sides were pretty keen to play that down.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know whether they were after Gomez last season as well.
Yeah, it's not a fair swap though, is it, Tom? Let's be honest. You're giving this Gomez and Elliott, and you're getting Alexander Isak. I don't think. I'm just not sure Newcastle will take that, would they?
Where do we think he stands now, Alexander Isak, in terms of the best striker in the Premier League? Obviously, Erling Haaland is a very different type of player. You got Victor Gyökeres now, who's pitching up at Arsenal. This is a question. This is a question for those in the waiting room. If you could pick one, would it be Haaland, the out-and-out killer in front of goal, or would it be Alexander Isak, who for me is a far better all-round footballer? You
can answer that first, Tom. Who do you think?
I'd take Isak. He was frightening last season, absolutely frightening.
Yeah.
Isak or Salah?
Well, different type of players for me. I think we could just do with a number 9. I really do. Salah's slowing down, and he'd set him up nicely.
Yeah, Tom's like, why not have both anyway?
Greedy.
Tom, great call. Thanks very much indeed. 03717222344. It's got to be Isak, hasn't it? Got to be. I mean,
Isak or Salah?
Haaland is absolutely destructive and is at times he's unplayable on his day, isn't he? Let's be honest. You know that as a Manchester United fan. He stuck a few in your net.
I think they've all stuck a few in our net. All those players I've mentioned.
Very true. Yeah, very true. But Alexander Isak, I think it's almost that adaptability as well. He can push out to the left hand side. He seems to have every trick in the book. He just glides, doesn't he? Yeah. And his finishing is absolutely lethal.
I think he's the one I pay to watch.
Yes,
over him or Haaland.
Yeah, absolutely. 03717222344. Craig is a Liverpool fan. Craig, what do you reckon about this? Our last caller, Tom, said go all out for Isak, try and get him. What do you make of the situation?
Well, first of all, good evening, gentlemen, and I hope you both well.
All good, thanks, mate.
After what's been an horrendous 10 days for Liverpool, we all know what's going on, and I don't want to go over that again because I'm just coming round after that now. But I think with the Isak thing, the interesting thing is, Alex might have a bit more on this. If Newcastle want to buy Ekatike because of the PSR situation, Newcastle have got to offload somebody first, and Liverpool know this. So Liverpool have got a few irons here. They could say, right, we'll offer you Harvey Elliott plus Darwin Núñez and 100 million, and we'll have Isak. Now, if Newcastle are still insisting that they don't want to sell Isak to Liverpool, I think the only way it actually happens is if Isak actually hands in a transfer request and says he wants to leave. If this doesn't happen, I can actually see Liverpool signing at a TK. But Newcastle have had 70 odd million turned down this morning. They're going to go back again. So basically, this is a game of chess now. Nobody knows how it's going to happen. The first domino what's fallen is Gyökeres going to Arsenal. I think that's a big gamble, to be honest. But let's see what happens. The thing is, Liverpool have not had a proper out number 9 since Luis Suarez and Fernando Torres. And Arne Slot wants a number 9, definitely. He's made that quite clear.
Yeah.
Darwin Núñez doesn't fit his game plan. The thing is as well, they're overlooking somebody, which I think, to be fair, if he's fit, don't forget Chiesa. He can still do a job across that front line. And I wouldn't if Luis Diaz goes and Darwin Núñez leaves, you can't let Federico Chiesa go, because then you've got to replace him as well.
Great point, Craig. Yeah, some really good points there, I think, from Craig, the Liverpool fan. I just want to pick up on that point he made about Isak, actually, where he said he thinks the only way this could happen is if Isak forces the issue, hands in a transfer request. Do you believe that as well?
Yeah, I probably do, actually. And again, it's quite unheard of for players to demand a transfer, although we've seen Victor Gyökeres effectively go on strike at Sporting this summer to get his move to Arsenal. I think Newcastle will be relaxed about the situation until they get some kind of nod from the Isak camp that he wants to leave and wants to join Liverpool. And listen, what it does do is it puts him in a very strong position when it comes to these contract negotiations.
Yeah, it does indeed. Alex, if you're listening, please stay. Please stay at Newcastle United. We love you. And take that number 9 shirt and
will you
win
cry if he leaves? Will you cry?
Got to go to a break.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that. Live on air.
Hopefully it doesn't happen live on air, yeah? That would be an absolute nightmare.
Clinky's
tears in the clinic. We'll definitely need some therapy from you. Listen, we've had so many messages through on 81089, all sorts of different clubs. We will get to all of those, including Southampton, Nottingham Forest as well. Some rumours about Cole Palmer. And keep those calls coming in. We're going to turn our attention in just a moment to Arsenal and their business. So if you're an Arsenal fan, you've got a question for Crook, then get your call in now. 03717 22 3344. This is talkSPORT.
Liverpool are expected to try and gatecrash Newcastle's bid to sign Hugo Ekitike from Frankfurt if Alexander Isak isn't for sale. The Reds have made it clear to St James's Park they'd table a mouth-watering offer for the Swede if their stance on his availability changes. Here's talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook.
I wonder if this could have knock-on effects now when it comes to Newcastle's own pursuit of Hugo Ekitike, a player who is on Chelsea's radar if Nicholas Jackson was to be sold, and more importantly, I think a player who's on Liverpool's radar as well as they look to bolster their forward options. So as much as Alexander Isak's staying, and we do expect him to stay at this stage, could be good news for Newcastle fans. The fact Liverpool are now expected to make a move for Ekitike, perhaps not quite such good news.
This as Liverpool have rejected a €67.5 million bid for Luis Diaz from Bayern Munich. Elsewhere, El Hadji Malik Diouf has become West Ham's first signing of the summer. A €22 million deal plus add-ons for the Slavia Prague defender is now done. Elsewhere, Brentford have confirmed the signing of Jordan Henderson on a 2-year deal, and goalkeeper Mark Travers has been training with Everton today after signing from Bournemouth on a 4-year deal. Alexander Usyk says he's going for the knockout against Daniel Dubois on Saturday.
With my coach, with my team, we prepared 12 rounds, but if I have chance, I do it.
Do you believe you will stop him?
Yes, of course.
The heavyweight undisputed title fight is live on talkSPORT. How much will the Lions benefit from a full 7 days off ahead of the first test against Australia?
We're loving the having a week's prep and having a fresh squad ready to go. So it's been nice to get back to a proper build-up. What we've had to do is a lot of walkthroughs, low intensity stuff, and a lot of meetings and reviews. And this is a chance to train what you want to get better at, as well as the plans and what we've been doing. So we expect to be better again Saturday.
There's no midweek game ahead of the series opener in Brisbane on Saturday. You can get more at talksport.com.
Good evening, I'm Olly Clink. This is a Transfer Insiders special. Tonight we have our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, with us, the transfer guru. There is nothing he doesn't know about the world of transfers, and he is taking your calls tonight. If you have a question about your club's business, he is here to answer it in Crookie's clinic. Dr. Crook, he's here to give you a bit of therapy if you're worried. If you're a Newcastle fan, worried about Isak leaving potentially, and if you want to know about Arsenal's business, which we'll chat about in just a moment. Firstly, though, Crookie, we've had plenty of texts coming in on 81089. Please keep sending them in. You can send a WhatsApp voice note too on the phone number. But yeah, I might just rattle through a couple of these if you could give us the latest. Firstly, Jamie has said, any news on Wolves, Crookie? He's a bit worried with a lack of movements at the moment. What's the latest with Wolves?
It's been a tricky one, hasn't it, as far as Wolves are concerned, because obviously they lost Mateus Cunha to Manchester United. They lost Ryan Aït-Nouri to Manchester City. Nelson Semedo, I think, still hasn't actually got himself fixed up with another club, but he's a free agent. There's a 4-year deal on the table from Wolves. Doesn't look as if he's going to sign it. One deal that we reported on yesterday as being close to completion is John Arias, who did well at the Club World Cup. Looks like a £15 million transfer for him is going to be completed. And again, in my notebook today, some positive news for Wolves. I'm told that Vitor Pereira has been promised that Andre won't be sold this summer. He had a really positive impact in the second half of last season as they avoided relegation. Interest in him from Juventus and some big clubs in Spain. But Wolves have pledged that he's not for sale.
You said a bit earlier, you fancied teams like Leeds or Sunderland to stay up this season. Who are they going to replace? Which teams are you worried about?
I think Wolves will be one, just based on the number of players that they've lost, as we mentioned already. Vitor Pereira did a brilliant job last season, but there is a bit of a pattern at Wolves that when a new manager comes in, they get an initial upturn. That happened under Gary O'Neill as well, and obviously wasn't sustainable by the end. Brentford, I think Keith Andrews has got a massive job on his hands there, especially if, as we expect, Mbeumo goes to United and maybe Johan Wissa is sold as well. And West Ham they had a season of nightmares, really. It spent big in the transfer market last summer. I think at this time last year, we were all saying, well, Tim Steidten, the new sporting director, has come in and done a good job, but not many of those signings worked out. They've not got much money to spend as a result of that. They have got a player in the building today in Juth, the left wing back from Slavia Prague, for a not inconsiderable fee of £22 million all in, but they've sold Mohamed Kudus. We don't know what's going to happen with Lucas Paquetá yet. I think they're still lacking a number 9. Obviously, Mikel Antonio is not signing a new contract at the moment. They had Evan Ferguson on loan. He's gone back to Brighton. So I'd be a little bit concerned for West Ham as well.
Okay, and just very quickly, we've had a message from Norm, who's a Chelsea fan. Crookie, any thoughts on the rumours about Cole Palmer going to PSG, or is it just fantasy?
I think that is fantasy, to be honest.
We don't do rumours on this show, Norm.
I know that the Chelsea model is all about buying players and then selling them for profit. And listen, if Paris Saint-Germain would have slapped down 100 million quid for Cole Palmer, maybe they might have a decision to make. But we saw, didn't we, on Sunday night when he was absolutely unplayable. At his best, I think Chelsea have got a chance of challenging for the title. If they sold Cole Palmer, they have no chance.
You really think they're going to go all the way and try and challenge?
I wouldn't say they go all the way, but I think they're going to be. I think they're going to be closer. Sanchez is a concern, but I think João Pedro is going to be a revelation there. Moises Caicedo gets better by the game. I think Trevor Chalobah at the back is forming a really good partnership with Levi Colwill. Big fan of both fullbacks actually, Cucurella and Malagusta. They've got Reece James converted into a midfielder. There's a lot to like about Chelsea.
Keep those texts coming in on 81089 and give us a call as well, 03717223344 if you do want to ask Crookie a question. There's plenty of people getting in touch about Spurs, Forest and Manchester United. We will get to your club at some point this evening. We'll especially get to your club, Manchester United.
Do we have to?
Crookie, yeah.
I might be in need of a doctor if we do that.
Don't worry, it's all right. I'm here. All good. I want to chat about Arsenal, though, and the latest with them, because it's looking as if Victor Gyökeres will be coming in and that search for a number 9 will finally be over. What have you made, though, of their business overall so far in this window?
More than 3 years since they signed an out-and-out number 9.
Is it really?
In fact, there's a quirky statistic, I've mentioned it a couple of times on this station, that Mikel Arteta has signed more goalkeepers than he has forward players, which is an incredible statistic. But yeah, Gyökeres coming in, £63.5 million. We expect that medical to happen in the coming days. Obviously, Christian Norgard recruited from Brentford to bring a bit more experience to the dressing room. Zubimendi seems a long time ago now that deal got ratified, but I know Arsenal fans are quite excited about him, less excited about Noni Madueke. Obviously, we had that ridiculous and frankly quite embarrassing petition that some Arsenal fans have signed. But I think overall, it's been a good summer for Arsenal. Keeping William Saliba out of the clutches of Real Madrid as well, I think is quite significant.
And we think the fee for Madueke is something around
52 million.
52 million. Do you think that's a lot of money?
It is a lot of money, and I get why Arsenal fans maybe are unhappy about it, but there's bigger problems in the world in 2025 than one London club buying a highly paid footballer from another. Is he going to be a guaranteed starter? Probably not, because he spent more time playing on the right than he did on the left for Chelsea, and I don't see him getting past Bukayo Saka. But it adds a bit of depth, doesn't it? This is an Arsenal team who want to challenge on all fronts. They want to go deep in the Champions League again, and they want to make up that lack of goals. I think there were 17 or 14 fewer goals they scored last season than Liverpool. Defensively, they're watertight. So I can understand why he wants to improve the front line.
But do you think that this window for Arsenal so far, and let's say they do get Gyökeres over the line like it's looking like, do you think that this window means that they then have a squad that is on par with Liverpool and Manchester City?
I'm not sure I go quite that far. I think, again, if you look at the options that Liverpool have at the top end of the pitch compared to what Arsenal have, I would still give Liverpool the edge. In terms of Manchester City, I'm fascinating to see how City Mark II, if you like, under Guardiola fare, because they've had to rebuild the squad. There are going to be some senior players who are collateral damage, the likes of Kyle Walker, who's already left, Jack Grealish, who we expect to go as well, maybe even John Stones. But I think they're building for the future, Manchester City. I'm not sure they're quite ready to challenge Liverpool in the here and now. So I do think it will be between Liverpool and Arsenal, but I would still give Liverpool the edge.
Arsenal fans, get involved. 03717 222344. I mean, we've been talking about Isak as well. He's another player that Arsenal have obviously been linked with for a long time, much to my annoyance in most situations. But you'd imagine if they're going for Gyökeres now, that interest dies. Does it?
Yeah, I think they were of the thinking that he'd be too difficult to get out of Liverpool, out of Newcastle. Sorry, Freudian slip there. In this window, and I think that ultimately will be the case. I'd still be surprised if Newcastle sold Alexander Isak.
Get involved, Arsenal fans. You might want to ask Crookie if there will be any more incomings for you in those attacking areas. Some names that have been mentioned, of course. Eberechi Eze is one of those. So if you've got a question for Crookie, then get involved. And it's not just for Arsenal fans as well, this clinic. Don't worry. You can come as a supporter of any kind of club. Like I say, plenty of Spurs fans also getting in touch. So we might explore the other side of North London at some point as well. This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18+, begambleaware.org. We'll take your calls next.
Time for another chapter in the history of that famous red jersey.
We cannot afford our emotional energy to dip whatsoever. You know why? Because there is no tomorrow.
And Argentina win The British and Irish Lions players are standing, partially stunned.
You shock yourself by taking yourself to another level.
Keenan puts the ball into Duan van der Merwe's hands. Van der Merwe has a hat-trick. And it's another Scottish try.
Because that's what being a Lion's about.
Lions have their 4th try of the evening.
As a British and Irish rugby player, this is what you dream of.
When it came to the taste, they were a different beast. That's when they really ramp it up.
Pollock's got it back and he's barreling his way forward. Up and over the 22. Keeps going. 5 metres out. Can he get the offload away? Yes, he can.
It ain't about taking part. It ain't about being here. It's about winning.
Ben White. Cummings goes over and scores a try. It's another Scotland try.
They won't have that. They won't have that. Make it your point of difference.
Get ready for the Road of the Lions here on talkSPORT.
From now on, gloves are off.
Yeah, it's finally here. The British and Irish Lions take on the Wallabies in the opening test of the series this Saturday. Live and exclusively right here on talkSPORT in Brisbane. We are your home of the Lions tour. The coverage starts from 10 o'clock. Kick-off at 11. Very, very exciting stuff. Shabana Hearn will be your host for that one. She'll be joined by a legend of the 2013 Lions series Down Under, Alex Cuthbert, as well as Wallabies all-time record try scorer David Campese, and your commentary team of former Lion Ben Kay and Andrew McKenna. It's the British and Irish Lions against Australia in the game we have all been waiting for. That all-important first test. Trust me, you do not want to miss it. We've been chatting about Arsenal here on Transfer Insiders. I'm Olly Clink alongside the guru, the doctor, that is Alex Crook, who is taking your questions and your calls tonight on all of the transfer business. We've been chatting about Arsenal. I mentioned that, you know, potentially with the business they've done with, you know, Kepa coming in and Zubimendi and Norgard and looking like Gyökeres will come in too. Does it get their squad to the same level as a Liverpool or Manchester City? With that in mind, if you had to predict now, where do you think Arsenal come next season?
Second.
You think second? So what, above City, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
And you think Liverpool go on to win it?
Yeah.
Even without Isak? Well, that'd be tough for them, wouldn't it?
Yes, might soften the blow.
Dr. Crook, we have some Arsenal fans in the waiting room. Clive is an Arsenal fan, been waiting very patiently. Clive, thank you very much indeed. What do you want to ask Crookie about Arsenal's business?
Evening, chaps. And no, it's just basically on the Gyökeres transfer. Where are we on that? Eze, and then possibly the lad from Madrid, Mr. Is it Rodrigo? I pronounced it correctly. I've just seen on Twitter now that a few people have posted that the Gyökeres deal is done, but they weren't the usual suspects.
Yeah, we'll have it first and fast here. Don't worry, Clive. But what about the questions? Firstly, on Gyökeres, where you understand the deal is at the moment.
Yeah, so it's all agreed. The key to this was his agent walking away from quite a substantial payoff that enabled Sporting to lower their asking price. It's still going to be well in excess of £60 million. Good news for Coventry City, who have a 10% sell-on clause, and Brighton, who have 15% sell-on clause from that. So another good piece of business for Tony Bloom. But I expect the medical to happen imminently, and I think the plan is that Gyökeres will be part of the Arsenal travelling party for their upcoming pre-season tour.
I think another name you mentioned there, Clive, was Eze. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. What about Eze then?
He's certainly very high on their list, along with Rodrigo. I think the player would be keen on a move to Arsenal. I think I'm right in saying they let him go as a youngster. Eberechi Eze. He's got a release clause in his contract of around about £68 million. I think Arsenal would like to pay slightly under that. No formal approach to Palace as yet, although Ben Jacobs, our colleague here, was reporting yesterday that could be imminent. I think they've got to get players off the wage bill first. Leandro Trossard is one that I would expect to depart. There's been a little bit of interest in Gabriel Martinelli as well, but I don't think they'll sell both of those. Then you've got people like Reece Nelson, who's got a lot of suitors in the Premier League. Jakub Kiwior could be let go. Alexander Zinchenko. It's a bit like the Liverpool situation, really, where Arsenal try to get their business done early, but it means they're going to have to sell players in order to keep on revamping the squad.
Clive, would you be excited by Eze if they do manage to get that deal done?
Oh God, yeah, undoubtedly, it'd be a great addition to the squad. It'd be a shame to see Trossard go, because I think he's done really well, been great value for money. There's no way we should sell Martinelli though, because he's a good footballer. He just get a bit of some of the fans don't understand him, the work he does for the club when he's playing. he's a great acquisition for us, and he should definitely not be sold.
And Crookie just said there he thinks at the moment, as it stands, with the additions even that Arsenal look like they're bringing in, he thinks they'll still finish behind Liverpool next season.
Well,
what do you think?
No, we'll win the league. We'll win the league if we bring in the players that we should be bringing in. We'll win the league this year.
Yeah, confident Clive. There we go. Yeah. Well, he's left the clinic happy there, Clive, hasn't he? Thanks for your call, mate. 03717 22
That's what you want to see. You want to see a happy patient, don't you?
Yeah. Dave is an Arsenal fan as well. He's in the waiting room, of course. Dave, it's your turn for an appointment with Dr. Crook. What are you making at the moment of Arsenal's business?
Yeah, first off, I want what Clive's drinking.
I'm sure we can prescribe it.
I am absolutely baffled. There's talk of getting rid of Trossard. I keep Trossard over Martinelli. Let's be honest, lads. Out of the top 3 clubs in England, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, does Martinelli get in Liverpool or Man City's team?
No. I completely agree, Dave.
And so to be a big-time sort of club, you need big-time players. And I think Arsenal should be measured, not for the business that they get in, because if they get Gyökeres, it'd be brilliant. It's who they get out. If you want to show ambition, get rid of a player like Martinelli, who is good, he's all right, but he's not going to win you the league. Sell him, get a Rodrigo in, get an Eze in, show some intent. That's just my sort of thought. But have you heard any sort of news on Martinelli going? I heard Saudi was a possible option, around 70 million, which is mad, but we'd take it.
Well, that was Al Nassr, wasn't it, who seemed to be making £70 million bids for a lot of players in the Premier League. I'm not convinced that Martinelli at this stage of his career would make that move to the Saudi Pro League. I'd probably pay closer attention to someone like Bayern Munich, who we know are keen to sign a player on that left-hand side. They've had a bid rejected today. We reported for Luis Diaz. Obviously, have missed out on various other targets. They've got a big injury issue when it comes to Jamal Musiala, so I'd certainly keep an eye on Bayern Munich and Martinelli.
Dave, we'll prescribe you some of Clive's magic medicine. Hopefully you'll think you might win the league.
Thank you, chaps. Cheers, mate.
Great stuff. Dave there, who seems a bit less confident than confident Clive.
Confident Clive.
About next season.
Are you confident, Clinky? Confident Clink?
Confident Clink. What about Arsenal or
Newcastle?
Newcastle next season.
Are you title contenders?
Well, with Isak and Ekitike out front, mate, it will be amazing. So
yeah, title contenders. Okay.
I don't think title contenders just because of the depth. I think you need real depth to be able to push for a title challenge, especially if you've also got European football. Newcastle have the starting 11 to beat any team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
On their day, absolutely any team. And it is unbelievably exciting. I think they'd have to be really fortunate with injuries if they were to put forward a big title challenge. I don't think they're far away, though.
No.
I really don't think they are far away. So, interesting to see how it does all play out. We've had some more text. We've also had a WhatsApp voice note through about Arsenal. Here's what this fan had to say.
Hi guys, I just wanted to see what you thought about the Gyökeres signing and if he can actually handle the Premier League, and also what's happening with the Eze deal. Is it something Arsenal fans can get excited about, or is it just fake news, really?
It's an interesting point about Gyökeres. Where do you stand on this, Crookie? Because there's a few people with the school of thought of he has been absolutely banging goals in over in Portugal and will be an amazing addition.
Darwin Núñez did that.
Yeah, well, one of the hottest strikers in Europe at the moment. And there's the other side who go, he's only played in the Championship. It's only the Portuguese league. Are you cynical about it, or do you think actually he'll make an impact for Arsenal?
I can see both sides. As you know, I work closely with Brighton, and Tony Bloom, I think, is a genius. Doesn't get a lot wrong. They let him go. Obviously deemed he wasn't quite good enough for their team at the time. Went to Coventry, as that voice note mentioned, scored a lot of goals in the Championship. But even then, they weren't queuing up Premier League clubs, were they, to buy him? He ends up at Sporting Lisbon, scores a hatful of goals in Portugal. Hat-trick, was it, in the Champions League against Manchester City? I think the benefit is that he understands the rigours of English football, because the Championship obviously is a very different beast to the Premier League, but physically it's demanding, and I think he'll cope with that. And Mikel Arteta got a tune out of Mikel Merino as a makeshift number 9, so I think this is an Arsenal team that will create chances. I'd have more concerns for Gyökeres, actually, if he was going to go and play for Manchester United, because I just don't think the club is set up for someone who's not necessarily proven in the Premier League to come in and hit the ground running.
Even under his former manager, though.
Yeah, but as I say, I think the dynamic of the squad, where the club is at this moment in time, I think Arsenal is a much better move for Gyökeres, and it pains me to say that as a United fan.
We are going to focus on Manchester United a bit later on in the show, so keep those questions coming in for Crookie. If you are a Manchester United fan, on 81089, you can give us a call as well. 03717 223344. We'll chat about Spurs in just a moment, because plenty of people getting in touch about them. Just a quick one on Arsenal as well, though. We had a text here from Ross. He wants to know about the structure of the Madueke deal, because, as we said, this fee is looking around £52 million. But Ross is suggesting that if it's spread across 5 years, is that such a bad deal? Do we know too much about the structure yet of that deal?
Well, that's £52 million to include the add-ons. So obviously the guaranteed fee is a bit lower than that. It's not unusual these days for clubs to stagger the payment over a number of years. That's what they did at Arsenal with the release clause for Martin Zubimendi. In that instance, they paid a little bit over the clause in order to stagger the payment so that it looks better on the balance sheet. So, listen, if I was an Arsenal fan, I wouldn't get too hung up on the 52 million. Yes, it's a lot of money for Noni Madueke, but when United were at their pomp, I never cared how much they were spending on players. I was just excited to see how these players got on. I think it's much more difficult if you're a club who is struggling and you spend £50 million on a player and it doesn't work out. Ultimately, if the Madueke gamble backfires, I think Arsenal have still got a strong enough team that it won't be that big an issue.
Also an issue for a club, I feel, like Newcastle or Villa, where they've got PSR restrictions. And
so they've got to make every penny count.
Yeah, you spent a lot of money on these players and it hasn't worked out. Anyway, keep the calls coming in for Crookie's clinic. He's sent a lot of patients home happy today, haven't you?
Well, that's what
so
I do.
Far.
I put a smile on people's faces.
Very good so far. 03717 3344. Plenty of fans of all sorts of clubs getting in touch. We've had text from Rangers fans. We'll come to them. Bournemouth fans as well, and Villa and Forest. So if you want to hear about your club too and the business they're doing, or potential business that you want them to do, Crookie is your man, and he is taking your questions and calls. This is talkSPORT.
Liverpool are expected to try and gatecrash Newcastle's bid to sign Hugo Ekitike from Frankfurt if Alexander Isak isn't for sale. The Reds have made it clear to St James's Park they'd table a mouth-watering offer for the Swede if their stance on his availability changes. Here's talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook.
I wonder if this could have knock-on effects now when it comes to Newcastle's own pursuit of Hugo Ekitike, a player who is on Chelsea's radar if Nicholas Jackson was to be sold, and more importantly, I think a player who's on Liverpool's radar as well as they look to bolster their forward options.
This as Liverpool have rejected a 67...
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world. Still hitting them corners and them lolos, girl.
Still taking my time to perfect the beat, and I still got love for the streets.
It's the
DR.
For the gangsters all across the
Show this one, mate.
Yeah, of course I do. Who is it? I'm down with it. Who is it? Dr. Dre, of course. Colleague of mine.
A colleague.
Still got love for the streets. It's the DR.
Snoop Dogg in there as well, then? Or, you see him around the surgery, do you, Dr. Dre?
Yeah, I've known him from way
Little
back.
high fives, do you?
Yeah, known him from Bournemouth days.
Oh, great stuff. This is the Transfer Insiders. It is a Crookie Clinic special tonight. Alex Crook, our chief football correspondent, taking your calls, taking your questions. So many coming in on 81089. We'll get to as many as we can, but keep them coming if you've got a question about your club. Just before we focus on Spurs in just a moment, Crook, we had a couple of questions here. A question for Dr. Crook from Stuart, Forest fan here, and he's worried about Morgan Gibbs-White and the situation there. Can you enlighten him at all?
Well, it's funny because we were talking with Forest fan Max up in the office earlier, and he was saying, what's going to happen now then? Is he going to go for 70 million?
Just to clarify, this is the potential deal with Spurs.
Yeah. He's got a £60 million release clause, so I think the idea that Forest are going to get more money out of the deal is fanciful. What I think Evangelos Marinakis is doing here is twofold. One, he's just trying to hold up the deal as a point of principle, because clearly he feels like that release clause has been leaked and there's been a breach of confidentiality. I think also he's probably holding out to see if another club are willing to trigger the release clause now. I think Marinakis' preference was always for Gibbs-White to go to Manchester City, then that might help Forest get James McAtee in the opposite direction. He's on their list of targets, but ultimately I think Gibbs-White will leave. I think he'll probably still end up as a Tottenham player because these tapping up allegations, you can threaten all the legal action you want, but they're very hard to prove.
Yeah, big blow that, I think, as well for Forest. He was so pivotal last season, Morgan Gibbs-White. So, yeah, if he does go, that is a bit of a blow. He has been at training, though, with Forest. We've got a text here from Callum. Evening, chaps. Can you ask Dr. Crook? They're loving that name, by the way. Yeah, Dr. Crook, there we go. You've had worse ones to stick, mate, I'll tell you that.
I think Sam Matterface getting a bit jealous, by the way, because this is not public knowledge yet. This is a bit of breaking news. He's actually going to be given an honorary degree at Portsmouth University in a couple of weeks' time.
Is he now?
So he thought he was going to be the first talkSPORT doctor. And I've beaten him to the punch.
You've beaten him there, as usual. Oh, great stuff. Well done, mate. You've done well there. You've got an honorary doctorate from talkSPORT.
Well, from you, really.
Well,
this is all your brainchild.
Anyway, Callum says, Dr. Crook, is there anything happening at Villa? I know we signed Bezo today from Brest as a number 2 goalkeeper, but he's just wondering if there's anything else on the horizon.
It's pretty quiet when it comes to Aston Villa, and I think that's probably a fallout of not qualifying for the Champions League and that damaging defeat against Manchester United, shock defeat really on the final day of the season. They just had to go there and beat the worst Manchester United team in our lifetime, and they'd have been back at Europe's top table. Obviously didn't get the job done, and there's a bit of chatter today around Jacob Ramsey as well, who is a player, and I've written about this a couple of times in the notebook, who I think Villa reluctantly might have to cash in on for PSR reasons, and Forest, who we've just been talking about, are one of the clubs who are interested in him.
It feels like he might be a decent replacement for an Elanga, for a Gibbs-White, for Forest. And you're right. I mean, like we've just said with this PSR situation, with the likes of Villa and Newcastle, Jacob Ramsey would be pure profit as a player who's come through the academy too. So yeah, it's slightly worrying times. Out of interest, in your opinion, do you feel that has also been impacted by the fact that Villa missed out on the Champions League on that final day against your Manchester United? By the way, I know there was that incident with the goal, and I'm going to be biased as a Newcastle fan, but Manchester United deserved to win that game.
Oh, they were pretty dreadful, Villa.
Yeah,
up until
they didn't turn up in that game.
No.
But you can say that it should have been a goal, and that might have altered the course of the game. But overall, has missing out in the Champions League seriously cost them in terms of what they can do in this window?
Yeah, I think so. I think we would have seen a much more ambitious approach from Villa had it not been for ending up in a lesser European competition as opposed to the Champions League, and it looked for a lot of the season like they were going to take one of those Champions League places. And I feel a bit for Unai Emery as a result of that, because a little bit like Newcastle, they've got owners with deep pockets at Aston Villa, but they've had issues with PSR. They did last June when they were having to sell teenagers who most of us never heard of for big money in order to balance the books. They've just sold their women's team as well, which of course was the Chelsea trick. I would expect them to get busier between now and the end of the window, because for me they still need a backup option to Ollie Watkins. They never really replaced John Duran, and obviously they had players on loan last season that have gone back to their parent clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. 03717 22 3344. The waiting room is filling up, so if you get your call in now, you should be able to get in there and get an appointment with Dr. Crook.
I'll tell you what, these appointments are being dished out more readily than at my local GP surgery.
Who's your doctor? So I might have voted. Anyway, we've had so many messages coming in about Tottenham. Chris is a Spurs fan. He's text 81089. He says, I'm not hearing much about Spurs outgoings, Dr. Crook. Do you think that Son might end up staying on? And do you think that Christian Romero might leave?
I think probably the other way around. It sounds like Atletico Madrid are looking at other targets now. We know that they were very keen on Romero at the end of last season, but again, it shows the value of Champions League football, the fact that Spurs can offer that to Romero. I think they're more confident now, and Atletico feel like he's going to sign a new deal at Tottenham. And I think that's quite important, isn't it? That partnership with Mickey van der Ven is absolutely crucial for Spurs. They're a much better team when those two are fit and firing at the heart of their defence. Son, I think, was always going to be a late decision because they've got this lucrative tour coming up Tottenham to the Far East, and obviously he's the poster boy for that, so there was no way they were going to sell him before that pre-season tour.
Did I maybe even read that it's in his contract to maybe go to that?
That certainly wouldn't surprise me, because the reason they're there is because of him. You know, it's the same reason why Brighton are so big in Japan, and why they're so keen, or one of the reasons they're so keen to keep Karu Matoma, who incidentally I believe has pledged his future to the club. In terms of departures, I still think there's a big chance that Son goes, and Yves Bissouma was the one that was mentioned to me a few days ago that Tottenham are open to offers for. He was sort of in and out of the team, wasn't he, and then came back in for the Europa League final.
In terms of incomings at Spurs then, we've spoken about the situation with Gibbs White from a Forest perspective mainly, but it's actually interesting from the playing side as well, isn't it? Because when you look at it, you know, Gibbs White's favoured position, you'd argue, is in that kind of number 10 role, but then you've got Kulusevski, who I know can also play on that kind of right or left-hand side. But you've also got James Maddison, so maybe it gives Thomas Frank an early headache, even if he does get Gibbs White over the line.
Yeah, I think Kulusevski is versatile enough that he can find a different position. I think he's a great player, Kulusevski, on his day. I think he's got such a good football brain. I'd be a little bit more concerned for James Maddison. It wasn't a great season for him last year. Again, there was a long spell of it when Ange Postecoglou wasn't picking him. Obviously, he then suffered that serious knee injury that ruled him out the Europa League final. He won't be fit for the start of the season, and Morgan Gibbs-White would be a direct rival for his number 10 jersey. And of course, the other player that Tottenham are very keen to sign is Johan Wissa. So it'll be interesting to see where he fitted in as well, because Dominic Solanke is very much their preferred starting option when fit, spearheading the attack.
In terms of Wissa, how far along is that? Is that just interest at the moment, would you say? Or?
Yeah, but I think if he had his choice, I think Tottenham is the club that he would want to join. Obviously, there's been talk of Nottingham Forest putting in a bid that was rejected. That was only about £20 million. I think there's been a lot of talk about Newcastle as well. Well, as we've mentioned, their main focus this moment in time is Ugo Ekitike. I think for his part, Johan Wissa has made it pretty clear to Brentford that, like Mbeumo, he's ready for a new challenge, and Thomas Frank would love to take him with him across the capital.
Yeah, do you think the fact that it is Thomas Frank would be the key factor that's making Wissa go, do you know what, it's perfect for me? Also, wouldn't have to move far, would he?
No,
still in London.
And the Champions League football again.
Yeah, of course.
We're talking,
and big club.
We were talking about this with Forest earlier. They were flirting with the Champions League places right up until the last day of the season. Had they have beaten Chelsea, they'd have been in a much stronger position. Would we even be talking about Morgan Gibbs-White leaving if Forest were a Champions League club? So it just shows you fine margins when it comes to the likes of Forest and Villa and Manchester United, because I think Liam Delap may well have picked United had they qualified for the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Wissa, by the way. I really do like...
Got more goals than Mbeumo last season.
Yeah.
And I think he'd be available a fair bit cheaper.
Yeah, was it 19, I think he scored in the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken. And just all kinds of finishes, etc. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's both Spurs and Newcastle interested in Wissa. I know you mentioned Forest there as well, but with all those clubs, you think about the fact that Newcastle have Isak, like you say, they're focused on Ekitike for the time being, but Spurs have Solanke too, and I guess what they're seeing with Wissa is the fact that he can play also on the flanks, and he's not just someone who can fill in as a number 9, almost like a João Pedro kind of player. But to be honest, I do think you see the best of Wissa when he is played in that number 9 role. Yeah, absolutely. With Mbeumo coming in from the wing, why don't Manchester United sign both of them? Yeah, they need a number 9. Is that a genuine kind of avenue they could go down? I think the United number 9 search is dependent on sales. Obviously, they've got Cunha in there, spent a lot of money on him. Ruben Amorim has made it pretty clear, as I understand it, that he really wants Mbeumo as well. So to finance a deal even for the likes of Jan Wissa or Jean-Philippe Mateta, who I know they admire, I think they're going to have to move players on before they can do that. If you are a Manchester United fan, by the way, get your calls in now in the waiting room. I feel like there's going to be plenty of ailing patients there who want to know what's going on with their club. Just the one incoming at the moment. So give us a call on that 03717 22 3344. We had a couple of texts, by the way, from Arsenal fans who we were talking about just before the break about the likes of Gyökeres and maybe Eze and Madueke coming through the door. There was a text I saw just now about Madueke saying that it's overpriced. Here we go. Dean in Broadway says it's overpriced for me, and there's definitely a better player in his position for that money. The one thing he has going is Premier League experience. You know what, Dean? I do agree with you there, because I just feel that it's such an Arteta signing in some ways, Crookie, isn't it? Because he does love a player that can fill in all sorts of different positions. Even if you look at the transfer of Kai Havertz, even if you look at Eze, who they're linked with, someone who can play in number 10 and can play on that left-hand side. And maybe that's what he's looking at with Madueke. Not only is he someone that could play on the left, he could also play on the right if needs be, and be there in case they need a backup for Bukayo Saka. The issue, and I think this is what Dean is pointing out, is why don't Arsenal just go for the best in class in each position rather than trying to slot holes because of injuries? Well, you need a squad. You mentioned Newcastle's lack of squad depth could cost them. I think Arsenal want 2 players for every position, and Madueke as well has got that precious commodity that defenders hate to play against, which is pace. And I think Mikel Arteta realises that he could light up the Emirates. I'm not as down on the signing as a lot of Arsenal fans. Yes, it's a lot of money, but there's a player in there. The one concern I would have actually is not necessarily about ability, it's about attitude. Because there were a couple of incidents last season where he found himself in hot water with the manager, and obviously that's the type of thing that Mikel Arteta has spent a few seasons weeding out the Arsenal dressing room. Is pace your commodity on the pitch, Griffin? No, pace is in my head. How long has it been there? A bit like Teddy Sheringham. Fair enough, yeah. Play the game with your brain. Yeah, I heard you had a bit of success as a manager the other day, did you? Yeah. Actually, I promised them a shout-out. So, we played in the Stone Pillow charity tournament at the Arena Centre over in West Sussex. Told it's the largest indoor football centre on the south coast, and we put a vets team into a 7-a-side tournament. We were struggling a bit. We let the kids manage the first couple of games. Then one of the mums said, "Come on, Crookie, this is your bag. You take charge." You took charge mid-tournament? And we ended up in the final. We won the final 3-1. Didn't score a goal until the final. We drew 4 games 0-0. We won the semi-final on penalties. And then we scored all 3 of our goals in the final. You've done a Greece 2004. Absolutely. Absolutely right. That's amazing. Yeah. And we were comfortably the oldest team in the tournament as well. What were your tactics? Gegenpress, or what were we talking here? What's the Crookie philosophy? It was 6-a-side, so we finally settled on the winning formula. Which was you off the pitch? Or was it? No, it was me in midfield, actually. I started the game up front. I hated it. Playing with back to goal. The pitch was hard. The ball was bouncing 10 foot in the air. But in the end, we went to a back 2 in midfield, and just the one up top, and I was one of the 2 in midfield. Nice. Yeah. Got an engine then, have you? Got a little bit of an engine, mate. Nice. Actually, one of the kids said to me, "Yeah, you're quite quick for a big man." Thanks. I think. It's nice from your own son, isn't it? That's really lovely of him to say. Anyway, keep your calls coming in for Crookie's Clinic, 03717 22 3344. We're going to chat about his Manchester United next. You need to get your medicine ready, mate. This is talkSPORT.
aim is still to get him signed before they go to the pre-season tour of the States, and it's going to be a really bad look on United if they don't get this deal over the line.
Yeah, because it has dragged on and on and on throughout this summer. We've had a text from Austin, who's a Manchester United fan in Belfast. He wants to know where else you think, as a fan, they need to strengthen to avoid another miserable season. I mean, how long have you got, Austin?
Well, no, you say that, right, and this is going to sound ridiculous. Yeah. I think defensively, and we talked about the interest in Pervis Estupiñán earlier, we broke that exclusively, and few people are saying, well, why do they need another left-back? I think he's an upgrade on what they've got, Estupiñán. I think he's perfect for Ruben Amorim's system, so I can understand the interest there. But the defensive record wasn't that bad last season. The big issue was how few goals they scored. And to put it into some kind of context, as a team in the Premier League, Manchester United scored 44 goals. Cunha and Mbeumo scored 35 between the two of them. So if you get those two signed on, then that obviously makes up for a lot of the shortfall. I still think they need a number 9.
I was going to ask you about that. What is going on with that situation? We've had bizarre links in recent weeks with Dominic Calvert-Lewin and with Jamie Vardy and these names that you just would not associate with Manchester United in terms of signing a new number 9. What are you hearing about their current targets and whether they're even close to getting one through the door?
Well, not a lot, and I certainly don't think they're close. We know there's a bit of interest in Jean-Philippe Mateta, but as we mentioned there, I think Palace would be loath to lose him with the goals that he scored for them last season, the season before. You talk about people like Jamie Vardy and Callum Wilson, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think there's more agents offering Manchester United the chance to sign their clients on a free transfer than United actually seriously contemplating it at the moment. But there aren't many out there. I know Benjamin Šeško is someone that Ruben Amorim likes, but where they're going to get the money from, I think in order to facilitate that striker coming in, they've got to get rid of the infamous 5. The Sanchos, the Rashfords, the Garnachos, the Malacias, the Antonys, and actually I think out of those 5, Antony probably is closest to the exit door with a possibility of a permanent move to Betis.
Is that because he'll take a wage cut and the rest won't?
Yeah, basically. You know, Jadon Sancho could have joined Chelsea if he'd taken a wage cut and would still have been on a significant amount of money, but he decided against it. I'd love to know where he thinks he pitches up next, but if I'm Ruben Amorim, I'm over a week into pre-season training now. I'm looking around the training ground. You've got 5 players who are persona non grata. You've got one player, really. I know they signed a young left-back, Diego Leon, as well. But they've got one senior player signed on in Matheus Cunha. And this is a side that finished 15th in the Premier League last season. And you look around, and we've spoken about a lot of the established rivals that Manchester United would have, and they're all strengthening. In Manchester United are only falling behind, seemingly. They've got to get their finger out the recruitment team. There's a fine line between not paying over the odds and being left behind. And one of the big things going to this summer was that Ruben Amorim was going to get a full pre-season to train with his squad. Well, that squad's looking rather light.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, he spent most of last season saying, I haven't got the players, and almost burying this current squad. He's only had one incoming so far. Alan Pardew was talking about potential relegation for Manchester United.
Look at you with a smile on your face.
Was that over-egging it a bit?
Yeah,
in your opinion?
I think so, because as I say, I don't think they're as far away as people think if they get these signings through the door.
Really?
I think there's some good players in that squad.
Like who?
I think Lenny Yoro, if he can stay fit, I thought he was excellent in that Europa League final, the only one to come out that need credit. I think Aidan Heaven has a massive future from what we've seen on him so far. I'm expecting a lot better from Kobbie Mainoo next season. He really struggled, I think, physically after the rigours of a European Championship, but hopefully with a full pre-season under his belt, he will improve. I do think Matheus Cunha could be an inspired signing, and I can't believe I'm saying this after heckling him off against your mob at Old Trafford, but I think there's a little bit of class about Joshua Zirkzee as well.
Okay, 03717 223344. Manchester United fans, if you have a question for Crookie about those outgoings, that infamous 5 as well. The future of Rashford, the future of Anthony and some of those other players, Jadon Sancho. Crookie is your man and be able to give you all of the answers on those. We're going to carry on with the clinic in just a moment here on talkSPORT. Your texts and WhatsApps, voice notes have been brilliant, by the way. Keep them coming in on 81089. The WhatsApp voice notes are with that number 03717 223344. This is talkSPORT.
Liverpool are expected to try and gatecrash Newcastle's bid to sign Hugo Ekitike from Frankfurt if Alexander Isak isn't for sale. The Reds have made it clear to St James's Park they'd table a mouth-watering offer for the Swede if their stance on his availability changes. Here's talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook.
I wonder if this could have knock-on effects now when it comes to Newcastle's own pursuit of Hugo Ekitike, a player who is on Chelsea's radar if Nicholas Jackson was to be sold, and more importantly, I think a player who's on Liverpool's radar as well as they look to bolster their forward options. So as much as Alexander Isak's staying, and we do expect him to stay at this stage, could be good news for Newcastle fans. The fact Liverpool are now expected to make a move for Ekitike, perhaps not quite such good news.
This as Liverpool have rejected a €67.5 million bid for Luis Diaz from Bayern Munich. Elsewhere, El Hadji Malik Diouf has become West Ham's first signing of the summer. A €22 million deal plus add-ons for the Slavia Prague defender is now done. Elsewhere, Brentford have confirmed the signing of Jordan Henderson on a 2-year deal, and goalkeeper Mark Travers has been training with Everton today after signing from Bournemouth on a 4-year deal. Alexander Usyk says he's going for the knockout against Daniel Dubois on Saturday.
With my coach, with my team, we prepared 12 rounds, but if I have chance, I do it.
Do you believe you will stop him?
Yes, of course.
The heavyweight undisputed title fight is live on talkSPORT. How much will the Lions benefit from a full 7 days off ahead of the first test against Australia?
We're loving the having a week's prep and having a fresh squad ready to go. So it's been nice to get back to a proper build-up. What we've had to do is a lot of walkthroughs, low-intensity stuff, and a lot of meetings and reviews. And this is a chance to train what you want to get better at, as well as the plans and what we've been doing. So we expect to be better again Saturday.
There's no midweek game ahead of the series opener in Brisbane on Saturday. You can get more at talksport.com.
Good evening, I'm Olly, Clink. How are you doing? This is talkSPORT. This is Transfer Insiders, and it is a special tonight. It's Crookie's Clinic. Our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, Dr. Crook, to give him his proper title, has been taking your questions, your calls, all of your texts as well about your club's business. There's still plenty of time to get involved this evening. We've been chatting just now about your Manchester United. You were talking a bit earlier, maybe for a bit too long, about your own managerial exploits, by the way, Crook.
Yeah.
I've had a text in, Dr. Crook, after witnessing your strike at Fratton Park a few weeks back. Did you score at Fratton Park?
I don't like to talk about it.
Oh, really? Yeah. You only brought up 3 times in the meeting earlier. You've been invited to bring a team to Chai City on the 27th for a 7-a-side.
Is that right?
Can you take that on?
Quite possibly. Do you want
to know something interesting?
Go on.
For my former club.
Is that right?
Chai City.
And my
Chichester
lad
City
plays for Chichester City Colts.
He does, yeah. Oh, nice. There we go.
Keep it in the family. I think I'm busy on the 27th, though. Unfortunately, I actually am. I'm on holiday. But, otherwise, I'll be there.
Oh, dear. Another holiday this year, yeah. Thomas Crook over here. Exclusive.
It's only because I've got a good understudy. Ben Jacobs, fantastic.
Yeah, very good old Ben, isn't he? Keep your calls coming in. Manchester United fans, we were talking about that bomb squad, the infamous five, as you called it, as well, of Rashford and Anthony and Malacia and all sorts of players who want out of the club, but it's going to be difficult to shift them. Lewis is a Manchester United fan. Lewis, what are you making of this situation, mate?
Evening, fellas. Well, so far, the transfer window of this summer has been a disaster for incomings and outgoings. Now, yes, there's still time and we might turn it round. We're getting in 2 or 3 by the time the window shuts. But ideally, you want your new signings to be embedded for the pre-season training. So I disagree with Crookie. Now, I love listening to you, Crookie, but what you said before the adverts there of, I don't know, 2 or 3 in, or if we get these 2 or 3 we're after or looking at, then I don't think we'll be too far off. Now, I'm thinking, when you said that, or words to that effect, not too far off, what do you actually mean by it? Not too far off getting in the top half of the table, or not too far off getting Europa Conference League football? I mean, for me, Crookie, we're a million miles off. Look at Chelsea, another one of our right. They're the World Club champions. Look at their team, the money they've thrown at their team the last couple of years. You know, they are going somewhere. Look at Liverpool. Arsenal are going to sign top players. Man City are probably going to come back. Even Tottenham beat us and they're in the Champions League. We're so far behind. We were in a relegation battle last season. We weren't that far off. We finished more points than we probably deserved. And for me, just 2 or 3 in, Crookie's not going to change anything. You know, we need a whole new team. The goalkeeper's not good enough. All right, I agree with you about the defence wasn't our main issue last season. Goal scoring was. Hoyland, he's rubbish. He's not going to be the answer.
Well, you're preaching to the converted there when it comes to Rasmus Hoyland, but
he's got to go.
Not
Crookie.
far off.
Not good enough. He's not good enough.
What's the ambition the ambition this season? I think. I still think top 6 has to be the aim. You know, this is Manchester United. You can't be talking about just trying to finish in the top half or looking over your shoulder towards relegation. I totally get where you're coming from. But I look at Nottingham Forest last year. And again, controversial opinion. I don't think Forest were a great team.
Yeah, but they made good signings, though, Crookie. And I think the point that Lewis is trying to make is that Manchester United still aren't doing that. They've only brought in Cunha.
Yeah, but there is still 6 weeks of the window to go. So as much as we're all frustrated, this Mbumo deal hasn't happened, they are going to get players through the door. They have to. If they don't, Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox should resign on the spot because it's a dereliction of duty not to strengthen this squad. I agree with you 100%. But I do think there are some players there who badly underperformed. Kobe Mainu probably being the prime example, who will be better this season. Ahmad obviously missed a lot at the end of the season injured. I didn't even mention him earlier.
Ineos for me have not been good enough. You know, we saw poor transfer windows, ins and outs over the last 10 years or more under the Glazers and Woodward, and nothing's changed with Ineos so far. You know, what are they doing? It's just embarrassing, this window. It really is. It's frustrating. I mean, gone are the day United fans are going to be excited about seeing a world-class superstar player coming to the club because they won't pay the money, they don't want to pay the wages, and they don't want maybe that older player in their mid to late 20s who's at that world-class level. So it's disappointing. Those days of all those superstar strikers we had, long gone.
Yeah, Lewis, where do you think you finish this season?
Well, it depends, obviously, who we do finally get in and out. These 5 who you've mentioned, they've got to go. I mean, they've been hanging around. I'd throw Mason Mount in there as well, and Anana. They've got to go. They're not good enough. We need to clear them off the books and the wages to free up, you know, some PR. What's it called? The
PSR.
PSR sort of headroom. But I don't know. I think it's huge we get back into Europe next season, whether it's winning the League Cup or the FA Cup or, you know, getting the Europa League spot. We have to get back. We've got to take baby steps here. Forget the Champions Leagues, those glory days of winning that, and World Club Cups and Premier Leagues. We've just got to look at European football, Europa League, and then that would be...
Yeah, you got to get in the top 10 first, Lewis.
No, I know, but I can't even...
I don't know about Lewis needing some medication. I think I need to go and see a doctor after that. It cheered me up.
Lewis, great call there, mate. 03717 223344. We've had Ash, the Newcastle fan, texting as well, saying Alan Pardew called it as it is. Other pundits keep trying to say Manchester United are back, but in reality, they're currently in a relegation scrap. Man United will finish no higher than 10th at best and be relegated at worst. I mean, to be fair, Crookie, when you said to me there's some talented players in the squad, the second player you mentioned, with all due respect, was Aidan Heaven. He's a talented youngster, but
I forgot Ahmad, to be fair.
You did forget Ahmad. He's a good player. He is a good player, but at the moment you're looking at what? Yoro and Ahmad and Cunha, who might be a bit of an unknown quantity. I think a very talented player. I do think a very good signing. But I can understand why Lewis is worried. I don't think it's relegation worry time, obviously. But at the same time, I can see why he's worried heading into next season, especially if you're sitting there saying you think it will be better than other people think it will be.
You're saying that, and I saw Ashley Young, who's been a pundit for us, obviously was part of our coverage at the Euros. He was speaking on television the other day saying that Ruben Amorim's got no more excuses. He's got plenty of excuses as we sit here now. He came in mid-season, inherited a squad that wasn't built in his image. There were problems in the dressing room that he tried to resolve by farming out the likes of Marcus Rashford, and obviously in the end dispensing with Garnacho for that Europa League final.
Was he adaptable enough though?
No, probably not, but no more excuses when you've only added one senior player. I think it's a bit early to be saying stuff like that.
Okay, Alan is a Manchester United fan. Alan, what did you make of Lewis? We sent him off with a bit of medication from Crookie's clinic, but he still didn't seem that happy about it. Do you agree with him though? Are you worried about Manchester United in their window?
Yeah. Honest to God, I sit in the South Stand and I phone in week in, week out. It's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see the fans that have worked there for generations and to see they're just scared of losing their jobs every home game. The club is shocking. These players, honest to God, we might get relegated next season. I know it's far-fetched, but I've been saying it for the last couple of seasons for everybody. I can see it coming, and it's all we deserve. The way the club is run, I wanted Radcliffe in there. He's took the club backwards. The manager, time and time again, we keep ruining people's careers. I can see this manager getting sacked, honest to God. And it's not that he's a bad manager, it's the club is rotten to the core. People around the world do not realise how bad the stadium is. I sit in the South Stand and I witness it. I witness people's faces. You can see heartbreak in people's faces. And it's the club is, honest to God, I keep on saying it, it's rotten, mate, honest to God.
Yeah, I mean, what do you...
outside, everything's vile.
Yeah, what do you make... Alan, thanks very much for your call there, mate. And keep them coming in, 03717 223344. Do you have Alan right about Ratcliffe there? About the job he's done so far?
I've said it myself. I don't see any positive steps, and while other clubs are announcing new signings or agreeing deals with players, United are sending out images and details about a new stadium. United fans, I mean, he mentioned it there, Alan, but United fans aren't as fascinated by the prospect of a new stadium as the club think. They want to see a team they can be proud of on the pitch, first and foremost. They were even putting out pictures on social media of the lawn being mowed the other day at Old Trafford, which just or the training ground anyway, which just sort of sums it up. So I agree with him. Ratcliffe has certainly not taken the club forward. I think a lot of the decisions that he's made have been wrong, not least spending months and millions of pounds trying to get Dan Ashworth to come in and reboot the culture of the club and then dispensing with him too quickly. You look at the redundancies that he's made, how many of those could have been avoided? Could there have been cost cutting in other areas? The fact he hiked up ticket prices for youngsters, pricing out a generation of watching this football club. I can't,
probably did them a favour too.
I can't name you one thing that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has done that's taken this club forward.
Oh, well, that's a bit of an indictment there. Just a quick one, going back to transfers on Rashford. I heard our esteemed colleague Ben Jacobs talking about this a bit earlier on Hawksby and Jacobs, and I know that you guys work very much in tandem on all sorts of these stories. But he was talking about the interest in that Barcelona hold in Marcus Rashford, and he said that because Barcelona have put a bid forward for Nico Williams, which was in excess of the 40 million mark that Manchester United value Rashford at. Manchester United are now looking at Barcelona and going, well, hold on, you have that cash. So as much as you say you want a loan and you want us to pay some of, or if not, most of Rashford's wages, no. If you want Rashford, you're going to have to come for him. You're going to have to go for a permanent move. Is that the stance of the club at the moment?
But then it becomes a game of poker, doesn't it? Because it's pretty clear that Marcus Rashford doesn't have a future under this manager. His number 10 shirt has been given to Matheus Cunha. He's not allowed to train with the first team. He's seemingly not even allowed to breathe the same air at the training ground as Ruben Amorim. So that does devalue him in the market. Barcelona are going to be prepared to sit tight, knowing that Rashford only really wants to join them. I think this one will go late into the transfer window, and then they'll come in with this loan deal, and it'll be take it or leave it for Manchester United. And what's the alternative? He hangs around, he trains with the under-23s, he continues to stink the place out. I don't think United are in a strong position to start asking for big money for any of those 5 players.
Keep those calls coming in, 03717 2233 44. We've had a text here from David. He says, come on, lads, what's happening with Sunderland? We'll get to that next, David, here on talkSPORT.
undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
The first unified heavyweight champion from Britain in a century.
Lennox Lewis.
The Americans didn't want me to take it over to Britain, but I actually persevered and succeeded.
I'm in my prime of my career now, so it's now or never.
Dubois hits him with a tremendous right-hand counter.
He slayed one king back in September.
Dynamite Daniel Dubois has detonated at Wembley Stadium.
He's about to slay another king on the 19th of July.
Bombs away. Are you going to knock him out? Bombs away, mate.
You dropped up to Dubois. He's put Joshua down.
And Alexander Usyk finds the altar.
Win it, you have all the 4 belts, and create history.
You know what they say? We'll see. We'll see.
Heavyweight brilliance, heavyweight occasion, heavyweight radio. How about that?
It is going to be absolutely electric, isn't it? Don't miss the heavyweight rematch between Usyk and Dubois for all the belts and undisputed glory this Saturday, July the 19th. Live only on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Boxing Update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Buy now at DAZN.com/boxing.
You can also listen to the fight, of course, live on talkSPORT. Coverage gets underway live on this station from 6 o'clock this Saturday. I tell you, those two are going to have to come to Crook's clinic after that, aren't they? I reckon. Yeah, have the bandages ready, mate.
I don't think I've got a big enough storeroom, to be honest.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, there's going to be some serious punches being thrown there. Very much looking forward to that. We had a text, Crookie, before the break. We're going to come back to Manchester United in just a moment, but I had a text before the break. David's very bored in the waiting room. David's been waiting almost the whole show for this.
Go on.
He says, "Come on, lads, what is happening with Sunderland?" Now, we did address them a bit earlier on. You said you think they'll probably stay up, but I mean, what have we seen so far? It's over 100 million or so of business. Do they stop here? Can you see them doing a bit more?
No, I think they'll do a bit more. They were in for a goalkeeper in Petrovic. He obviously decided to join Bournemouth instead. Still talk that Aaron Ramsdale and Sam Johnston could be targets as they maybe look to replace Anthony Patterson as number one. Granit Xhaka, rumours that they're interested in him, and I know as a Newcastle fan you weren't particularly happy to hear that.
Yeah, that
would be a great addition, and it shows that the owners are ambitious. I think out of the three at the moment that have come up as we sit here now, and again there's still 6 weeks to go, I think Sunderland are probably best equipped to try and stay up. I think Simon Adingra could be a cracking pick-up for them, albeit it cost them more than £21 million plus add-ons, but he, on his day, I think is quite an electrifying prospect. So I've been quite impressed with Sunderland's business so far, and as I say, if they could recruit a player like Xhaka, who's had a real...
That's a coup, that.
Well, he's had a real upturn in his career, hasn't he? Since that incident when he was booed off as Arsenal captain, it's really been in an upward trajectory since then. He's been a really good performer, really experienced player, only 32 years of age still.
And
I think that would be quite a coup.
Leverkusen.
Yeah, absolutely. A real success story at Leverkusen.
Yeah, we've had a text from another Sunderland fan, Anth, who says, this is good. A Sunderland fan living in a house with 3 Newcastle fans. I wonder who gets blamed for the washing up every single night. But Anth says, should we have pushed harder to get Jordan Henderson back? He's obviously been announced as a new Brentford player today. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? If they got Granit Xhaka, I'm not quite sure that getting Henderson back would have been that important. But I'll be honest, I was slightly surprised when I saw that news about him going to Brentford. Not only because he doesn't feel to me like a hugely Brentford signing, despite the fact they've lost Christian Norgard, but also because he feels like the right kind of signing for Sunderland coming into a promoted team. I mean, his leadership skills are so kind of coveted. He's made the England squad. So, yeah, I was a bit surprised to see Brentford in there. How close potentially was he to going back to Sunderland?
I was told after the playoff final win that there was certainly interest, but I'm not sure that interest really developed. And you're right. I think if you had a choice out of Jordan Henderson or Granit Xhaka, obviously Jordan's a little bit older than Xhaka. I would suggest that Xhaka is a little bit more dynamic than Henderson. So maybe Sunderland knew something that we didn't when they let him go to Brentford.
Absolutely. Obviously, we were also chatting about your Manchester United. George from Cuffley's in touch with the clinic. He says, "Hi chaps, I've been a Manchester United fan since May 1968. I was 11. I can tell you I've never seen such garbage players. Managers coming and going at the top, including Sir Jim Ratcliffe, are totally inept mistakes after mistakes." So echoing some of our callers there.
It's hard to dispute. I'd love to get Sir Jim Ratcliffe in this studio. He'd never do it, of course, because he tends to handpick which journalists he wants to speak to. But I'd love him to explain to us what progressive steps have been made during Ineos's tenure. It's been nothing short of a disaster. And really it was epitomised by that Europa League debacle in Bilbao.
Yeah. 03717 22 33 44. If you do have a question for Crookie about your club, about their business. If we're talking about Sunderland, I just want to ask you about some of the other promoted sides. Leeds, we've obviously mentioned tonight, have managed to get Sean Longstaff over the line. And what have you made of some of their business in this window?
I expected them to maybe get a bit more done early because I know the 49ers are ambitious. I think they're looking for a new goalkeeper. Potentially Aaron Ramsdale could be on their list as well as Sunderland's. But I think, again, they will get players in the building between now and the end of the window. They promised to back Daniel Farke. Obviously, there was a bit of conjecture at the end of last season that maybe they might contemplate a change of manager. And then you look at Burnley, Carl Walker, very reminiscent to me of when Portsmouth were promoted to the Premier League under Harry Redknapp, and he signed people like Teddy Sheringham and Sol Campbell, sort of dad's army that he built at Fratton Park. But he knew that Premier League experience was so important. So I can understand why Burnley have gone down that road. And Carl Walker is determined to be part of the England squad next summer, so he's got extra incentive to make sure that move is a success.
That's the old TY shirt, Pompey, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, the little heart. Patrick Berger scoring against Villa on the first day of the season. I remember it well.
Oh, yeah, great stuff, yeah. And that experience can count for so much. And with Burnley, there is obviously, one player in particular who's been talked about a lot over this summer. James Trafford has been linked with Newcastle a fair amount. And that, again, has been a bit of a strange one because I feel at the start of the window, it almost felt to me as a Newcastle fan as the first signing they would get done, and it felt like they would get it done quite quickly because of the long-standing interest. What's the latest on that situation?
It feels like the goalposts keep changing a bit every time Newcastle think they're close to a deal. Yeah, Burnley seem to keep raising the asking price. I think we're talking maybe as high as £40 million now. Now you've mentioned
clubs are offer then.
You've mentioned Newcastle maybe still having some PSR issues, though Eddie Howe has publicly said that isn't the case. But £40 million on a goalkeeper, I'm not sure is the absolute priority at the moment when you've got Nick Pope there.
Yeah, but I do think Trafford would be a decent signing, not just because you're signing you're signing potential England number one, which I think it would be a fantastic investment. The other thing with Nick Pope, he's been brilliant for the club, servant for the club, fantastic. He's come up with some huge saves in big moments and is a decent goalkeeper. I just feel that with his feet, I just think Trafford would be a big upgrade in that area, despite the fact there's a bit of a lack of experience there. But such a good season last time out. I know it was in the Championship, but he was phenomenal in goal, and he also saved 2 penalties against Sunderland in one game. So in my book,
he's
makes
already
him a
Newcastle hero.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll chat a bit more about Newcastle in just a moment here on Transfer Insiders. You're listening to Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Liverpool are expected to try and gatecrash Newcastle's bid to sign Hugo Ekitike from Frankfurt if Alexander Isak isn't for sale. The Reds have made it clear to St James's Park they'd table a mouth-watering offer for the Swede if their stance on his availability changes. Here's talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook.
I wonder if this could have knock-on effects now when it comes to Newcastle's own pursuit of Hugo Ekitike, a player who is on Chelsea's radar if Nicholas Jackson was to be sold, and more important,
This is the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with me, Olly, Clink, and talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. We've had some huge news throughout the day in terms of transfers. Liverpool, we understand, have made an approach to Newcastle's Alexander Isak. Not a formal one, an informal one, but they have made a bit of an approach. What could that mean, though, for Newcastle's push for Ugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt? Victor Gyökeres, not long till that one is confirmed. Morgan Gibbs-White has also been in the headlines, and much, much more. This is Transfer Insiders. Let's do a quick roundup then of all the stories that have been going on throughout the day. Isak and Ekitike, Newcastle and Liverpool. All the big game of chess, it seems, at the moment. Newcastle going after Ekitike, but whilst they've been doing that, Liverpool have tried to approach them about a certain Alexander Isak.
Yeah, I've got to say, it's been a pretty sensational window so far. Stories everywhere you look, and this one really came somewhat out of the blue. Having said that, we did report on the Transfer Notebook way back in March that Newcastle were braced for serious interest from Liverpool this summer, regardless of whether Mo Salah stayed at the club. At that stage, he hadn't signed his new contract. And here we are now, and finally Liverpool have made their approach, as you say, not an official approach, but they've asked the question, is Alexander Isak for sale? If he is, we're willing to pay a British record fee. At the moment, Newcastle's stance is clear. They're not willing to cash in on their star man, but there are no obvious signs that contract negotiations are moving in a positive direction. So this just puts a little bit of doubt when it comes to Alexander Isak's future. And as you say, the spin-off to that is that if they can't get Isak, Liverpool still want to bring in a new number 9, and that might divert their attention towards that Newcastle target, Ugo Ekitike. And at the moment, Newcastle don't seem very confident they would win that race.
Oh, really? So so the club are actually saying that at the moment they're not quite sure they'll get Ekitike over the line. Has there been a bit of a difference in fee in that instance? Because I know Frankfurt want quite a hefty one from Newcastle for Ekitike. But of course, Newcastle, even though they can splash a bit more cash this summer, still quite restricted by PSL.
Yeah, there was talk of €100 million being the bounty on Ekitike's head earlier in the window. I think it's nearer €90 million. That would still be a club record deal as far as Newcastle are concerned. There are reports in Germany their initial offer of around £70 million has been rejected. And then you throw Chelsea into the mix, and I'm fascinated by this because the deal is being brokered by a so-called super agent, Ali Barrett. Now, Ali Barrett has really close connections with Chelsea. He brokered the British record deal that took Moises Caicedo from Brighton to Chelsea. He's Nicholas Jackson's agent, and there's doubts about his future at Stamford Bridge. And I think if he was sold, then Chelsea would come in for Ekitike. So many moving parts in this particular story.
I mean, surely Chelsea don't need another young striker. Surely they've got João Pedro over the line. They've got Liam Delap. There has to get to some point where Enzo Maresca goes, you know what, guys? I know you're having so much fun signing all this young talent. Please, can you just let me have a squad that I can work with, keep happy, and push on into next season? I mean, I know it's their thing. I know it's something they keep on doing, and they like to hijack a lot of Newcastle's targets. We've seen that already with João Pedro so far in this window. But, you know, is there a sense with Chelsea's business that at some point they will stop signing forwards, especially when there are other priorities for Chelsea, in my opinion, including getting a new goalkeeper and potentially a new centre-back?
Yeah, but the model for Chelsea is spotting value in the market and then signing players they believe that ultimately they could sell on for profit. Now, I think it's going to be difficult if you pay €90 million for Ekitike, that anyone's going to come and pay above that in years to come. But they do seem to be stockpiling players. You're absolutely right there. And I think as we get towards the end of the window, we're going to see Chelsea players like we did last summer with the likes of Conor Gallagher and Trevor Chalobah training away from the first team because they need to trim the wage bill. Where does someone like Kieran Dewsbury-Hall fit into all this, for example? I just can't see how he's going to get any minutes at all at Chelsea next year.
Just so for any Newcastle fans listening then, and Alexander Isak in that situation, how nervous should they be about Isak leaving the club in this window?
I think at the moment Newcastle are remaining calm, and I think it would only really change if he agitated for a move, if he slapped in a transfer request. There's no sign that will happen at the moment. They're trying to give him the number 9 shirt, Alan Shearer's famous number 9 jersey, now that Callum Wilson has left the club, as a sort of sweetener to keep him there. And they can offer Champions League football. I think if you've missed out on the last day of the season, then these conversations would start to get a bit more serious.
Interesting stuff. Talking of number 9s, Arsenal might finally be getting one through the door in Victor Gyökeres. What's the latest with all of that?
Yeah, fee pretty much agreed over the course of the early part of the week, £63.5 million, inclusive of add-ons. And key to this deal was Gyökeres' agent walking away from quite a substantial paycheck in order to allow Sporting to lower their asking price. Arsenal jet off on their pre-season tour in the coming days, and they want Gyökeres to have completed his medical and signed on the dotted line by then. And he might not be the only arrival, because we spoke earlier this week about Christian Mosquera, a young defender at Valencia. Fee agreed for him. He is also set to undergo a medical. And we've got the Noni Madueke situation and positive vibes this evening about the future of Ethan Nwaneri. Now, I reported a couple of weeks ago that maybe this was one to watch, that Nwaneri wanted guaranteed of playing time and his role in the team. Looks like those conversations are now moving towards a positive conclusion. He will sign a new contract at Arsenal, which is good news, I think, as far as the Arsenal fans are concerned.
I definitely think it is good news in terms of Nwaneri. That's a really interesting one, though, when you consider that one of their other targets is Eberechi Eze, and they're trying to bring in Madueke, which is looking like that should happen. I wonder how those conversations went with Nwaneri in terms of playing time. How many games was he promised that he would start next season? Because it's going to be very difficult to break into that Arsenal team.
It is, and do you see him as a winger now, or do you see him as someone who can come and play as a number 10, maybe provide competition for Martin Ødegaard, who is the captain, but didn't have the strongest of finishes to the season. There were question marks about his form, certainly by the time they got to the Champions League semi-final against PSG. But I think, like any set of supporters, what Arsenal really want to see is players coming through the academy and establish themselves in the first team. Miles Lewis-Skelly has managed to do that, and they're hoping Nwaneri can as well.
Yeah. Any outgoings potentially with Arsenal at the moment? They've seen plenty of incomings so far, but any going out the door at the Emirates?
Well, with incomings come outgoings, because obviously all clubs have to balance the books, and Arsenal certainly aren't immune to that. I think Leandro Trossard looks the most likely the forward players to depart. There were reports of Fenerbahce being interested in him, clubs in Saudi Arabia and other big clubs in Europe as well. Likewise, Martinelli has interest from Al Nassr over in the Saudi Pro League and Bayern Munich, but I think Arsenal would prefer to keep him. Jakob Kivior is someone I think they would be open to offers for. So too Reece Nelson and Alexander Zinchenko as well. So yeah, I think we're going to see plenty more transfer activity at Arsenal between now and the end of the window.
Kivior's an interesting one, isn't it? I wonder if there are some other clubs in the Premier League who look at Kivior and look at his services and maybe think about getting him through the door. Now, Crookie, what on earth is going on with Morgan Gibbs-White? Because Tottenham looked like they'd activated his release clause and they were going to bring him to Spurs, but then Forest and Marinakis started kicking off, threatening legal action. So what's the latest with all of this? And do you expect Morgan Gibbs-White to end up in a Spurs shirt by the time next season starts?
I think I probably do. At the moment, he's back training with Forest, and it wasn't a coincidence they decided to put a picture of him on their social media when they said, look, the lads are back in training. He had a big smile on his face, in fairness. There were some rumours on social media earlier today that he'd skipped training. That isn't the case. He was training with the rest of his
wore a blue and white t-shirt,
Forest players,
which I thought was quite funny.
With the rest of his Forest teammates. Evangelos Marinakis, the owner at Forest, is seething about this because I think he felt that he'd been given assurances from Morgan Gibbs-White at the end of last season that he would only leave for a certain level of club. They didn't necessarily see Tottenham as that level of clubs, but clearly he's made it clear, Gibbs-White, that he wants to make the move. Marinakis is also agitated that the £60 million release clause, as Forest see it, has been leaked to Tottenham and therefore is a breach of confidentiality. I think that's very difficult to prove. Tapping up is commonplace in modern day transfer negotiations. So I think ultimately all that Forest are doing here is causing a bit of a delay and maybe being a bit of a nuisance as far as Tottenham are concerned. But having said that, it does open up the possibility that now that we all know there's a £60 million release clause in Morgan Gibbs-White's contract, maybe somebody else in the Premier League might decide they want to trigger that as well.
Did you get tapped up after your goal at Fratton Park ever in a charity game?
Well, only by a texter asking me to play in a seven-a-side tournament.
Are you going to take it up?
No, I'm on holiday, unfortunately.
No, very sad. That's your moment that your football career could start. And you're turning.
I think my football career ended a long time ago, Ollie. But so is yours. Walking around on one leg.
Oh, mine definitely never started, mate. I'll tell you that for free. Now, talking of Forest, I believe that they're already looking at a few replacements, maybe for the likes of Elanga, for the likes of Gibbs-White potentially. And one of those names that came up was Jacob Ramsey from Aston Villa. Is this interest real?
Yeah, I think so, because Aston Villa, having missed out in the Champions League, are in a position where they need to potentially sell a player to stay on the right side of PSR. Obviously, Jacob Ramsey is a homegrown player, so he would represent pure profit on the books, and Forest, I think, see him as someone who could come in and replace Elanga in particular. What we do know about Marinakis is he's very ambitious, and he will provide funds for Nuno Espirito Santo to strengthen the team. I know there's interest in James McAtee as well, and that was another reason why maybe Marinakis would have preferred Gibbs-White to end up at Manchester City than at Tottenham. Harvey Elliott has been mentioned. Douglas Luiz was a player that I wrote about on my notebook today as being someone on their radar. He earned 6 figures over in Italy with Juventus, so that would be a big deal to do, but it shows you the type of pond that Forest are fishing in.
Another name was Johan Wissa that I saw linked with Nottingham Forest, but there are some other suitors for him as well, I think involving Spurs and Newcastle. Do we know at the moment where Wissa would like to go if he does leave Brentford?
I don't think Forest see themselves as favourites in that particular race. I'm interested to see when he does go, and I think Wissa has made it clear to Brentford that he'd like a new challenge. What the transfer fee will be, Brentford sources telling us earlier this week, £50 million is the asking price. I know buying clubs think they can get him for a little bit less than that, maybe in the £35 million range. So yeah, that's certainly one to keep an eye on.
Plenty more stories to come on Transfer Insiders, in including a potential new forward for Chelsea. Who'd have thought it? This is talkSPORT.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. Supercharge your odds with our Odds Boost button. Selected markets applies to first £50 of stake. Terms apply. 18+. Gambleaware.org.
Going to need a bit of night nurse, aren't they, some of your patients?
I tell you what, I might need a bit of night nurse. So I won't. I'm going to sleep very well. I've done every show today, starting on breakfast. Wyatt and Jordan, Drive, H&J, and now spent 3 hours with you.
Which has been the best bit?
Not the 3 hours with you.
Cheers, mate. Yeah. It's long hours, though, as a doctor, isn't it? We know that. It's been Crookie's Clinic tonight here on Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. He's been taking all of your calls about your clubs and all the business that they've been doing. This is Transfer Insiders with me and the chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, or Dr. Crook, as he has been known tonight. Let's get back into some of those transfer stories. A lot of people have been asking about Brian Mbeumo and Manchester United and the latest with all of this, Crookie, because this one, I mean, it felt like it was done ages ago, but it's just going on and on and on. And actually, I went to the first press conference of the Brentford manager, Keith Andrews, and the director of football at Brentford, Phil Giles, was there, and he said that during that conference, he said, I wouldn't be overly surprised if Mbeumo is still in a Brentford shirt come the start of next season. And I don't know, I think within the press conference, everyone kind of thought, no, come on, mate, he's going to Manchester United. But, I mean, this is dragging on now. Is there any chance of that actually happening?
Well, I reported 3 weeks ago, as people keep reminding me on social media, that he was due to undergo a medical, or expected to undergo a medical the following week. Certainly that was what we were getting out of Brentford at the time. Now, you've mentioned it, NHS waiting lists are quite long, so maybe that is the hold-up. But no, seriously, the two clubs are still trying to agree a fee. Manchester United, I think, are determined not to pay over the odds for a player as they've done in the past. And I did suggest to you earlier in the evening that the cynic in me thinks, well, actually, they've just seen this an opportunity to save a couple of weeks' worth of wages, because we're in mid-July now. Had he have signed end of June, start of July, they would have had to pay him from the 1st of July. They still want him on the pre-season tour of the States. I think it's going to be a really bad look for Manchester United if that doesn't happen.
Yeah, that wouldn't be like Jim Ratcliffe, would it, to save a few quid on that? Right now, let's hear a voice note about a certain Aston Villa player who might be on the move.
Yeah, fellas, hope you're good. I'm looking forward to the show. As always, Crookie, quick question towards you. I'm a Chelsea fan myself, obviously buzzing with the Super Cup win. I know we've been getting a bit of stick about it, but I'm really hoping we don't side on Atcha. I'm not the biggest fan of his. Hoping for maybe Rodgers instead. Is there any news on that one? Any kind of links coming forward? Did hear today that it might be interested in Jackson, so possibly a bit of a deal, kind of both parties there to work on maybe.
Do you know what I love so much about that? It was like, we're getting stick for winning the Super Cup, and it's called the Club World Cup. Yeah, got the name wrong. Yeah. But you know, well done to Chelsea. Well done, world champions.
Top of the world, as Jason Cundy keeps telling us.
There we go. Now, Morgan Rodgers and Chelsea. I mean, I'm sorry, Crookie, because I've already gone on a bit of a rant about this, but surely Chelsea do not need another young forward in Morgan Rodgers, no matter how good he is and how good he was for Villa last season. And surely as well, he's not a player that Villa would want to let go.
No, he isn't. I mean, we talked about it when he came to Jacob Ramsey and Forest, that they might have to cash in on a player in order to balance the books, but certainly Morgan Rodgers is the last one they would want to. I think for his development as well, he's got himself in the England squad now. He's almost guaranteed to be playing week in, week out. Aston Villa at Chelsea, as you mentioned, they've got so many players in that type of position that it might be difficult for him to be a nailed-on starter, so I'd advise him to stay where he is. Nicholas Jackson going in the other direction, though, that caught my attention, because Unai Emery, having obviously spent a lot of time managing in Spain, where Nicholas Jackson made his name, he'll be well aware of his qualities. I think Nicholas Jackson will leave Chelsea before the end of the window.
Okay. Now, what about Everton? Any news with them of some recruits coming in? Any business that you can see Everton doing with the 5 or 6 weeks left of this window? Mainly because, you think about the new ownership and the new stadium and this kind of new lease of life under David Moyes. I think it could be quite an exciting season potentially for Everton. How are they looking business-wise at the moment?
Well, it's almost a blank canvas as well, because they had a dozen players who were out of contract. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Ashley Young amongst them, who have moved on. Obviously, tying down Jared Brampthwaite to a long-term deal
that's great.
Was a really significant piece of business. And I know they plan to build the team around the likes of him and James Tarkowski at the back. They've signed a new goalkeeper in Mark Travers. He's only going to be a number 2 really all the time that Jordan Pickford is fit, but that's a £4 million plus add-ons deal. They've got a Calvert-Lewin replacement. They've got a new number 9 as well, which was quite a key position. And there's a couple of West Ham players that David Moyes would be interested in. One of them actually is available on a free transfer in Vladimir Soufal. Okay. And we know right back is a position they're looking to strengthen. They nearly signed Kenny Tete before he agreed a new deal at Fulham. And the other is Thomas Souček, who I get the impression, if the price is right, West Ham, who are quite well stocked in midfield, might be willing to do business. And obviously those two were brilliant servants to David Moyes when he was at West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of brilliant servants, there's also been a story involving Sean Longstaff and going to Leeds, a bit of an update with that one, and it looks like a deal's been agreed for Longstaff to make that switch.
Yeah, more than £12 million, the fee that's been agreed. It could be as much as £15 million with the add-ons. Longstaff, I think, was keen for Newcastle to get a fee rather than just let his contract run down and leave on a Trent Alexander-Arnold style free transfer at the end of the upcoming season.
Good old Sean, well done, mate.
Yeah, no, he's done well.
Yeah,
I think it's a good signing for Leeds. It brings that Premier League experience, brings a bit of steel into midfield, and I think he'll be determined to prove himself because he's been a frustrated spectator watching Tonali and Guimaraes and the like keep him out of that Newcastle team.
Yeah, he just dropped down that pecking order. But you're absolutely right, Crookie. I mean, this is a player that was in the side that got Newcastle into the top four, and he was a key part of that side. He scored big goals in big games as well. Scored 2 in a League Cup semi-final to get Newcastle into the one where they played your Manchester United.
Who won that one?
Like you like to remind me that Manchester United. Who won it this year though? Who won it last season? Oh yeah, Newcastle. That was it. Yeah, and Manchester United finished 15th. That was it, and lost the Europa League final. That was it. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Sean Longstaff has been a great servant for Newcastle. I think it's great and very admirable of him to get them a fee as well, because it's not the biggest fee in the world, but it goes a long way.
Helps.
Goes a long way, especially because he's a homegrown player too. So it's pure profit from a PSR perspective. So annoying that we have to use those kind of terms, I think. But there we go. The game's gone. We all know that. Now, what about down on the south coast, Crookie? Because you are an expert of these teams, of course. You spent a lot of your career covering a lot of these teams. Just starting with Bournemouth. What can you tell me about the latest going on with them? Obviously, they've just lost Kepa, who's gone to Arsenal. Any other business that's been going on with them?
Well, obviously, they needed a new goalkeeper because they Kepa Arrizabalaga, as you mentioned, on loan, decided not to take up the option to sign him permanently, which was only a £5 million fee. So I'm intrigued that they didn't do that. They instead have signed another goalkeeper from Chelsea in Georgi Petrovic for £25 million. So he's going to go in as the new number one. They've got a bit of a headache when it comes to Neto coming back from Arsenal.
I was going to ask you about this. Yeah, and actually, we need to reflect on what a bizarre transfer that was. I mean, how many games did he play for Arsenal? Was it one?
I'm not sure.
One or two?
One, I think. He played one Champions League game, didn't he?
Absolutely crazy. He was cup tied, so couldn't play in any of the cup games. And then obviously wasn't going to play in the Champions League or the Premier League because David Raya was the first choice keeper. But I did think to myself, well, with Kepa going to Arsenal, surely Neto comes back and is the number one once again at Bournemouth, because I thought he was a good keeper. I thought he did really well. I thought that's how he got that transfer to Arsenal. But yeah, if they've bought another keeper, what's going to go on with Neto?
Well, he's on big wages. So I was told he's on a 6-figure salary. So that is an expensive number 2 for a club like Bournemouth.
Blimey.
But obviously they've let Mark Travers go, so I think he will be the number 2. So interesting to see that the battle that develops between him and Petrovic. They've obviously lost players. Dean Howson to Real Madrid, Milos Kerkez to Liverpool. They've already signed the Kerkez replacement in Adrian Truffert, coming in for a relatively modest fee. That could end up being a bargain transfer. They do want another central defender, but crucially they want to keep Ilya Zabani, who's attracting interest from Paris Saint-Germain. It's difficult. Again, we talk about food chains. When you're a club of the size and stature of Bournemouth, you're selling players to Real Madrid, Liverpool and potentially Paris Saint-Germain. How do you persuade them to stay?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be really worrying, I think, if they were to lose Zabani as well, because then you've lost House and you've lost Kerkesh and you've lost Zabani. You've lost 3 of the back 4 that I think made them such a difficult side to play last season. I mean, how are you feeling about how you think Bournemouth will get on next season? I think the key thing that they have done is kept the manager.
Yes, agreed. And there was a possibility that he might end up at Tottenham. In fact, I was told that he rejected the chance to go to Tottenham before they eventually settled on Thomas Frank. So I think that is quite crucial. I trust the recruitment team there. They've signed some really decent players for low prices, not least Dean Howson, who was a bargain buy, and they've ended up selling him for a £50 million release clause to Real Madrid. So I think the fans there have to put their faith in Bill Foley and his team. But again, if you're talking about teams who maybe, having been weakened, could get dragged into trouble, then yeah, certainly some Bournemouth fans will be concerned.
Just a very quick word on Brighton as well, because we've seen Simona Dingra head off to Sunderland, a fairly decent signing, I think, for Sunderland in that regard. They've obviously taken a bit more cash off Chelsea in this window, has become custom. But any news of any incomings, etc. for Brighton?
Well, I know they're particularly excited by Tommy Watson, the teenager they signed from Sunderland. The deal was agreed before he scored the winner in the Championship playoff final, and by all accounts he's looked very sharp in training. They've got a teenage Greek striker to come in and replace João Pedro. I'll let you try and pronounce his name, but again I think they see a big potential in him. And again, I think Tony Bloom has proved himself to be a recruitment genius. So they know when the time is right to sell players, often for big profits, and they usually know when the time is right to replace them. I think there'll be more departures. Matt O'Reilly hasn't probably got the minutes that he would have wanted when he came at the start of last season. He's got interest from Roma over in Italy. So is Evan Ferguson. Obviously lost his way a little bit at Brighton, went on loan to West Ham, didn't tear up any trees there either. And we reported exclusively on talkSPORT earlier tonight that Pervis Estupiñán is attracting interest from Milan and Manchester United, so one to watch there as well.
Taking on a bit of a Brighton reject then, Manchester United?
I think if they can get him fitted, he'd be a good player.
I'm joking, he is a very good player, very big fan of Pervis Estupiñán. This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Don't forget, Transfer Insiders is now available as a podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Crookie, the clinic is closed. You've shut the doors.
We saw a fair few patients, didn't we?
We definitely did. I think we sent most of them home pretty happy as well. We had Confident Clive, the Arsenal fan.
We did.
He had some good medicine for him, I think. He seemed very excited about next season. Lewis, the Manchester United fan, I think will be back. I get the sense that he'll be back.
He might be back quite regularly. He might have his own chair by the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely will. Such are the problems at Manchester United. But I hope you've enjoyed it, my friend.
I have, and we've sorted out your ailment. You know, the moon boot is off. You're sort of walking properly again. So
just about.
I was worried. You might have to chop the foot off. So please.
Yeah, good stuff. Dr. Crookie at some point will be back. Of course, you'll be hearing him across talkSPORT with all the latest transfer news. Check out his notebook on talksport.com. It is always ahead of the game. He is the best man. He is the man in the know when it comes to transfers as well. Right, that's it from us here. Up next, don't go anywhere. It's the Sports Bar on talkSPORT with Jamie O'Hara and Jermaine Pennant. 03717 223344.